Time for final practice at the Daytona International Speedway for tomorrow night's 400-mile race, the Coke Zero 400. Clouds have been threatening, but to this point, no rain here at Daytona. Temperature 82 degrees, and as is per usual this time of year, a lot of humidity in Florida. Happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. Steve Burns with Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Hammond. We expect fireworks. We saw some in the first practice, no pun intended. But, Jeff, listen, you have got to get this car driving. What do we look for in this practice as far as that goes?
Well, I think a lot of guys right now are going to go back, study their notes, figure out where the problem is. We saw these cars in the first practice. I mean, they looked to me like they were just bouncing around. The front ends were not settling down. Back ends were kicking out. You need to go back and understand NASCAR mandates rear springs, also going to hand you rear shocks. So you've got to tune around the front of that car, move the weight around, whatever you can do to get that front end to ride the bumps the best you can, because this racetrack is worn out. Getting grip and being able to hold this thing wide open for 400 miles, that's going to be the key to winning, driver.
Darrell, I look at this big place in my mind, my eyes say horsepower, but it has always been about getting that race car to handle. How different is this place from February to July?
What'd you say, Hammond? Daylight to dark?
Night to day.
Yeah, night to day. No, you get out there and you say, why would you practice? Why would you put yourself in these precarious situations? Why would you want to get 3 wide in practice? Why would you want to bump draft in practice?
Why?
You've got to. Because you're not going to – that's the conditions you're going to be in tomorrow night. Or you're going to be all over somebody's going to be all over you. If your car doesn't handle in practice, it's sure not going to handle in the race. So you've got to give that feedback to the crew chief.
Yep.
Here's what's wrong. Here's what it's doing. Now fix it.
And understand one thing, Steve. This is the final practice.
Yes.
So you better get it right.
Based on what I've seen, that's probably good news for a lot of guys. They're ready to get away from this thing.
3 drivers already going to backup cars. We talked about the fireworks. Kyle Busch, one of those involved. Casey Kane in the 9 car. Let's take a look at what happened, guys.
You can see that 6 car was a little bit out of shape. It looked like when I first saw this, I said, oh, Kyle got into the back of the 6, which he did, but the 6 was already a little bit loose, looked like.
He was definitely a little bit loose already for sure. Take a look right here. We're riding on board with the 18, and this is exactly what he saw. The 6 goes to the outside of him, comes down a little bit. You can see it get a little bit loose, and then he does make this a little bit of contact, but then all of a sudden the 99 gets it back in the 18, and it really compounded everything. And the 9, we didn't get a chance to see him, but he was also a casualty of that first accident.
Yeah, so all 3 of those drivers going to backups, and there you see Kyle Busch's. We'll take a break. We promise the excitement will start here for final practice in just a few moments. Stay with us here on Speed from Daytona.
£600 of salmon breath. You in? 5th generation 4Runner. Sucker punched by a big fish. You in? 5th generation 4Runner.
Ladies, hello. It's me again, your TV. I cut your cable to show you a no-brainer, DirecTV. With DirecTV, you can record a show in this room, so the kids can watch it in this room. Or this room. Or perhaps this room. Any room. I'm talking options, ladies. You love them, DirecTV has them. So give them a call. DirecTV. It'll change your life.
Where do I get my daily NASCAR fix? Log on to NASCAR.com. NASCAR.com. They have everything. They have highlights, interviews, preview shows, me shows. You say me shows? My show, Kyle's Corner. Tons of videos. I like the articles myself. Articles?
Yeah, the articles, track smack, splash and go.
Hey, look, whatever you need, I promise you, NASCAR.com has it. NASCAR.com. 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 Check it out.
Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup Final Practice is brought to you by Sprint, the Now Network, by Loctite Adhesives and Sealants, trusted performance, proven results, and by Toyota. We've got a 1 hour, 25-minute practice here, final practice for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series teams as they get ready for the Coke Zero 400.
I was looking at an in-car camera of Ryan Newman earlier, and it's amazing to me. This track is old, and we know that they're going to resurface it right after this race. But it still has a ton of the cars have a lot of downforce in them, and the banking, it's amazing how far the driver can sink down in the seat. Goes down the straightaway, kind of pops up, but when he gets in the corner, you can see him really compress down in the seat. So these cars are making a good bit of grip and quite a bit of downforce.
And don't forget, a lot of banking down here in these corners as far as any other tracks we go to. The only one that's got any more is Talladega.
See Jimmy Johnson leading Kevin Harvick and Matt Kenseth. I believe it was Larry Mack last week in New Hampshire that said, it's time for that 48 team to pour on the coals.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know why people were all worried about whether the 48 team was going to be all right or not.
Oh, they're in a slump.
I think that we all know what the program is there. And like I've said all along, the X factor in that whole project is what's Chad doing? What is he really working on? What's he trying to figure out?
He's experimenting.
Probably a little bit.
Hey, also joining us here in this fine broadcast from Daytona, Lindsey Czarniak.
Thanks, Steve. You know, do not be fooled by where you might find Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the speed charts for that first practice. They weren't very high. They hovered around 30th, but Dale Jr. actually very happy with his race car and the way that it was responded. He liked the way that it was handling. What they're doing right now is going back out there to make sure that that same comfort level is there. Also, they're excited about finding out about the temperature as far as the track is responding right now and how that might convert, obviously, to race time. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. very excited, but also the fact that he's now 3 points out of 12, this race is that much bigger a deal, Larry Mack.
Well, Lindsey, when we were last here 5 months ago at Daytona International Speedway, the team that won the 2010 Daytona 500, they're sitting here in the garage areas. You can see the checklists are on the side of the race car, the gear's out, they're just kind of going through the motions here. This team ran 42 laps in that first practice session. They made long runs, they tried a couple different setups, they went through 2 completely different sets of tires, they got their fuel mileage checked. They were happy with this race car. This is the car, of course, that did not win the Daytona 500. It's in the Daytona Experience. This car finished 3rd in the Budweiser shootout. You might say if the track, Darrell, has cooled down from 114 degrees to mid-90s right now, this is what we're going to be racing in on Saturday night. Why would you not run all those laps now? I think the philosophy is the track's just going to gain grip front and rear when we get into the nighttime.
Yeah, Larry, I was just curious, and Jeff, has anybody said anything about the spoiler and how the cars are feeling, acting, driving, any different, better, worse? What's people saying, you know, had the wing here in February. We've run the spoiler at Talladega, but how about here today? Any comments?
Well, the cars definitely, Darrell, for the most part, they seem to be a little bit looser because what you have to realize is with the Daytona package, with the tall shark fin on the back window and on the deck lid, with a little bit taller spoiler than we run at the downforce tracks, it has shifted downforce to the front of the car. Now you talk about the quarter panels extensions and the side force at the rear, it's pretty much a wash from what we had here in February. So mainly you've got more downforce on the nose, which actually is making the cars a little bit looser.
Yeah, definitely a little bit looser, but let's don't forget too, guys, we got bigger restrictor plate than we had here in the spring. Also, when we were here in February, we had a 63 64th. This time we're running a 1 132nd plate, so they got a little bit more pull. But talking to guys, they said they felt like the cars had a little bit more drag to them, maybe punching a little bit bigger holes. So again, these practices are very important to figure up that, you know, that rate of closure, you might say, that we've already seen get some guys in trouble.
Right, and you know that we got a bigger restrictor plate. You know the cars are pretty free, and you know the track's cooling down. How do you know all that, Burns?
Speed.
195 miles an hour right now. And, you know, when the sun goes down, then the speeds are always going to pick up. And so we could see some speeds here getting close to 198 miles an hour.
Darrell, we sort of made a pact not to even look at the scoring monitor a week ago when we come to Daytona. Everybody that I've heard over the years, for as long as I've been here, talks about getting that car comfortable. How is that car driving?
Yeah, well, that's critical. You know, you take so much mental focus here to run in these
Clear
packs
low.
at the speed that you're running.
A little aggressive.
The last
Still
thing
clear
you
to the 83 if you want it.
is something inside the car distracting you. A mirror not right, a seat brace not right, a headrest not right. This seat is killing my back. These pedals are wrong. You got to get all that resolved before you start the race.
Yeah, Matt Yoakum showed in the first practice drivers changing their side view mirrors, rear view mirrors. So driver comfort, obviously a big deal.
And it's a different look as far as we take a look at the 88 right now. He's already got into the outside safety barrier somewhere.
Up here
Again,
in turns 1 and 2.
1 and 2 right there. You saw him get it too. But you see who's leading this pack right
Turning
now?
right here, turning right here.
The guy who won this race a year ago on July 4th. There's Tony Stewart in that 14 car being followed very closely by Carl Edwards in that number 99 Ford.
Let's take a look at what happened to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car.
Yeah, he gets down in turn 1 and 2 down here. He gets in a little high. Car pushes up the hill, and coming off of 2, he really got into it pretty good. You can hear it scrubbing along the wall there.
So Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the garage.
Slicing and dicing here, Jeff. I mean, these guys are not bashful about moving around and getting from one line to the other.
Look at those two Penske cars, the 12 and the 2, both up there close to the front.
We'll be right back to Daytona as Dale Jr.'s team goes to work.
Tonight, who will follow in the footsteps of Petty, Johnson, Earnhardt, France Sr., and France Jr.? Find out as the nominees for the second class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame are unveiled exclusively on NASCAR Race Hub. Tonight at 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
Happy July 4th weekend. Come into Lowe's today and kick off your holiday with a bang. Make your weekend sparkle with 20% off Whirlpool brand appliances and 10% off other major appliances priced $397 or more. And get 12-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more when you use your Lowe's consumer credit card. That's a whole year. So head to Lowe's this July 4th and find everything you need to enjoy your weekend. Experience Lowe's. Let's build something together.
If you feel it, that soul-tugging urge to hit the road on something new. Now is the time to do it. For the first time ever, Victory Motorcycles starting at $10,999. It's another way Victory is fueling your passion by getting you on the American V-twin you've always dreamed of. The Fuel in the Dream event with bikes as low as $10,999, going on until July 31st. Visit your local Victory dealer today.
To me, power is more than just an amazing serve. It's confidence, attitude, expression, glamour. Be bold enough to show the world who you are, on and off the court.
Serena Williams and HSN, a perfect match.
Let's make our statement in style.
Discover the exclusive Serena Williams Signature Statement Collection, only on HSN.
Tonight on Speed, who will follow in the footsteps of Petty, Johnson, Earnhardt, France Sr., and France Jr.? Find out as the nominees for the second class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame are unveiled exclusively on NASCAR Race Hub tonight at 8 Eastern and only on Speed. Wild practicing continue. We go to the garage and Lindsay.
Thanks, Steve. You can see the crew of the 47 team working on that right side of the car. I've got the driver, Marcus Ambrose, right here. Marcus, pretty banged up. What happened?
Oh, it's actually not too bad. We just scuffed the wall a little bit there. I just had a big run on the outside, and you know, when you get up in there, you got to commit to it, and the front just didn't stick like I thought it was going to, and just scuffed the wall a little bit. But we're okay with this car. We'll get it back out here for the rest of the session.
You finished 6th here last July. How different have you experienced this car this time around with the changes?
Well, it's definitely, we haven't got the handle on the car like we did here last year. We seem to be really fighting it. We got speed out of it. We're third in the sheet right now, but you know, we know we've got more to do, and I'm just trying to get it comfortable so I don't do that again.
All right, thanks, Marcus. You know, the good thing you can say about Marcus Ambrose, Larry, he's always got a smile on his face, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure that Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now, though, Lindsay, has a smile on his face. He had run a total of 3 laps in this 88 car. He pulled it in the garage area after the guys documented it. He hit the wall down, I think, in turn 1 and 2. What they did, the first thing was they jacked it up. And they've got some mechanism they can check to see if the rear end is still square. They came out, they had a little bit of a confrontation right there, a little bit of a conference. And right now it looks like that they're going to try to fix this car. I don't think they have found anything that's substantial, In fact, I looked down the right side, and he must have just hit it square. He didn't hit it like right front, right rear. It's just as square as it can be.
Yeah, there he just scraped along the wall coming off turn 2 over there. Never really heard it bam into the wall, just kind of scraping along.
I think you'll see him back out on the racetrack pretty quick.
Up there high, this barely gets into it. Just barely gets into it.
She wasn't a tank slapper. It was just a scraper.
No, not a tank slapper.
No.
But you know what they say about minor damage? That's something that happens to somebody else's race car, not yours. It's like minor surgery.
Minor surgery, exactly.
And Darrell, watching this might be one of the byproducts of this new package. We haven't been here at Daytona with it, so he's getting a run on the outside, and when he goes up into that area, the 20 car basically in the middle, maybe he loses a little bit of front grip, or maybe he gets too much more, and it kind of makes the car lose its side bite, and he slides very gently up in that outside safer barrier.
Here's what I think it is. I think it's that big restrictor plate, and I think your corner entry is a lot higher than what maybe you think it is.
This might be a dumb question, guys. Why the bigger restrictor plate here? To answer what question?
Because of the way the spoiler works, it creates more drag on these cars than the rear wing did in February.
It's a trade-off. We're going to put the bigger spoiler on, give the cars more downforce, but we got to give them more horsepower to keep up with the drag that we're putting in the car. So it's a balancing act, and that's what racing's all about. It's a balancing act.
Compromise.
Yes, front to rear, cross weight, side bite, all those things.
Hey guys, just remember this. You talk about the big restrictor plate. This is the biggest holes that we've ever had since the inception of the restrictor plate in 1988. Now here's what's interesting. I think this would be really interesting for our viewers. The holes are only 3/64 of an inch bigger than what we raced here in February. What does that equate to? 40 to 50 more horsepower.
50 more horsepower.
And of course, the other thing that does too, that works that engine that much harder as well, because here in a good handling race car, you're going to be on the mat all the way around the racetrack. So a lot of high sustained RPM.
Well, let me ask you this though, Darrell. Would it not give you a little bit of throttle response back because of that? You got a little more horsepower. Would you be able to roll out of it and get back into it? And I heard in that first practice a lot more guys working the throttle. At least that's what it sounded like to me, rather than dragging the brake.
Yeah, you're going to have a feel in the throttle that you didn't have before. You're going to have a little bit more response. But, Jeff, what happens to a race car when you add drag to it? You cut the motor off. It just comes to, it just slows, it almost comes to a stop.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to have more horsepower. That throttle response is going to feel good, but that drag is going to overcome any of that throttle response if you get out of the gas very long.
On board with Kyle Busch, he's heading to the garage.
That's what you call a clean cut right there. They'll come in right now. That's a good tuning device for the engine builder. He'll pull the spark plugs out with the car running at full throttle, cut the engine off. That way you get a good look at what's going on distribution-wise inside that engine.
And Darrell, let's don't forget, that is a backup car, and it's got a new engine.
Not there yet. Looking inside.
Darrell, one of your old teammates, Neil Bonnet, I think, explained it the best to me when we talk about, adjusting the jets on the carburetors. And he said, Steve, if you go out to run, you go out for a run. If the weather's nice and cool and there's no humidity, you can run further. Race cars are the same way. In the humidity, that engine has to work harder. Hot, humid, the engine has to work hard.
It labors a lot more.
Yeah, these guys look at humidity, and even in drag racing, you hear them talk about grains of water, and it's a really complicated thing. The really good tuners are aware of, what the condition of the ambient temperature. They even like to know the underhood temperature. Look at this thing getting all over the place.
And a backup car right there, David Reagan's number 6 car gets loose off of turn 4.
He must put the same setup in this one he had in the other one.
That was a big wiggle.
Bring it to you next time.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yes,
and
sir.
hopefully it won't be in a basket.
39 will work the top.
Oh, my God.
Woo. That was a big-time save right there. Take a look at this.
That's got to be hard on your confidence. You just wrecked one car, and this thing here was on its way out of here.
And I'll bet you Ryan Newman and Jeff Gordon right behind him were holding their collective breaths as well. We're holding our breaths, and we're up where it's safe. Are we safe up here?
Darrell's up here. What do you think?
Hey, take it easy. I'll take care of you, boys.
All
Don't
right,
worry.
thank you. We'll be right back.
Saturday, NASCAR Race Day hits the high banks, and we're there. As Dale Jr., Ryan Newman, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Daytona 500 winner Jamie McMurray join us live. NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot, live from Daytona Saturday at 4:30 Eastern.
Only on speed.
How durable is Quaker State? We just tested Quaker State motor oil that had driven thousands of miles in New York City taxis. And even when it was ready to be replaced, that used Quaker State still passed the wear protection, rust protection, and viscosity retention tests for brand new oil. Extra protection when you need it most. That's Quaker State. Real, durable oil.
On January 12th, a massive earthquake ravaged Haiti's capital, taking the lives of hundreds of thousands of people and leaving millions more without water, food, and shelter.
During our time in public service, we've witnessed firsthand the extraordinary generosity of the American people in the face of tragedy, here at home and around the world.
But there's still so much to do. So please join the Clinton Bush Haiti Fund and other organizations as we answer the call to help Haiti build back better. Thank you.
Main Power is more than just an amazing serve. It's confidence, attitude, expression, glamour. Be bold enough to show the world who you are, on and off the court.
Serena Williams and HSN, a perfect match.
Let's make our statement in style.
Discover the exclusive Serena Williams Signature Statement Collection, only on HSN.
Tomorrow, NASCAR is in Daytona to celebrate America's independence. And we're here as Kevin Harvick and Casey Kane stop by our ultimate Friday night house party. Don't miss NASCAR Trackside from Daytona tomorrow at 11 Eastern, only on Speed.
I want to see how Mr. Harvick treats you tomorrow night.
Why is that?
He's been looking for you, D.
That's all right. He can look for me all he wants.
Happy Harvick be looking for you.
The rookie.
Why is he mad
bring
at
it
Derek?
on.
I didn't say he was.
He's not mad at me.
He
He can't be mad at me. All I've done for him.
You know, remind me to ask him that question while you're there.
Oh, boy. No, you know who I'm anxious to talk to is Casey Kane, because he had a bad, fast car last week in New Hampshire, and it's a shame, and he had trouble, because it looked to me like he had one of the better Fords that we've seen this year.
He had a chance, I think, to put some pressure on that 48 car.
And you know that's got to drive Jack Roush just a little bit crazy, because that proves that you know they got the stuff to get it done. You just got to get it done.
Take a look right there. Casey came back there, and that again another backup car because of an incident earlier on in the first practice, getting his number 9 shook down. Currently 4th. I've already got 13 laps on this backup car.
Yeah. You know, Darrell, back to your point for a moment about New Hampshire. I guess the highest finishing Roush car was Biffle in 16th, and I'm still mystified by that. I know last year at this time everybody was ready to bury the Richard Childress team, but they've come back. But you know how it's up and down. It seems like a big cycle.
It does, and one of the things I kind of have to chuckle about is I heard Jack, and I like Jack a lot, and I think he's a very smart man. But talking about this testing policy, I've never liked the way it is, and I've always thought they'd like to change it a little bit. And I've always liked the idea, and I said back when I had my own race team, come in a day early. Telemetry in the car, run all day on Thursday or all day on Wednesday, whatever day they choose. That way you got all the data you need. Get ready on Friday to go through tech, qualify, and race that weekend. That way you get a day at the track to do whatever you want to do. And you're already there anyway. Saves all that traveling to Milwaukee or wherever they go.
Back to the garage and Lindsay.
Thanks, Steve. Matt Kenseth just came on the radio a short while ago and said that he was feeling a vibration. They had just been in the garage, and the one thing that they were really working on was the bump stops. They were adjusting those bump stop gaps. So that's one of the biggest things that they were battling with as far as getting that worked out, getting back out on the track, and then hopefully for them switching over to some qualifying.
Lindsay, I hate to tell you, I'm watching Jimmy Finnick right now, but his 17 car is headed back to him. It didn't look like it was very comfortable for Matt right now. I think they got more work to do on that 17.
Okay. He didn't seem too happy with that vibration talk on the radio.
It's kind of funny. It just seems like they have a lot of vibration problems too, you know?
Everybody works, Darrell, to try to get that drive line where it will, not rob any horsepower. And you see that 17, I mean, it's bouncing all over the racetrack right in front of his teammate, 99 of Carl Edwards.
Daryl, you were talking about that up and down, that motion that we see, porpoising.
Porpoising, and that's just the car bouncing off of what those bump stops are. They're big pieces of rubber, really, or else they're on top of the shock packer. And when the car starts to travel, it'll hit those bump stops too soon, and then the car will jump up in the air, and it'll just start really pogoing, if you want to know what it really is. Pogo right up the racetrack into somebody if you don't have it right.
And then I think you call that the hospital hop.
And that's the next part of it.
Dale Jr. hit the wall up between turns 1 and 2 with the right side of his Chevrolet. He is back out and ready for more practice.
Like Larry was telling us, he didn't think the damage was that severe. I mean, it looked maybe a lot worse than what it was. He's got 4 brand new tires on that car. Like he's trying to check his radio. They're trying to talk to him.
Larry Mack.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. They never did really panic down here. When he came in, Dale Earnhardt Jr. never got out of the race car. Lance McGrew went over to talk to him. The guys jacked it up as I documented. They made sure that the rear end, the trailing arms weren't bent. They put 4 fresh tires on. They beat the quarter panel and the fender out just a little bit. You know, it has the aluminum crush panels that got knocked loose. They kind of taped those up. They put it on the ground with 4 fresh Goodyear tires, checked the front toe, filled it up with fuel. About 10 minutes, he's back out on the racetrack.
Yeah, Larry, as you look at the car, if you look at the side of the car, nothing was caved in. Mainly, it just scraped up the lettering and the number on the side of the car. So, yeah, that was a pretty lucky break there for those guys. They don't have to do much work to get him back out.
Lance McGrew atop the team transporter in the garage area. Dale Jr. gets back up to speed. Everybody holding their breath in the garage area. Eric Almirola is going to make some laps in that 48 car. Jimmy Johnson in the background. He and his wife are on baby watch.
When business travel leaves you drained, recharge with free high-speed internet and free hot breakfast. Comfort Suites, power up. Right now, when you stay 2 times, with Comfort Suites or any Choice Hotel, you can feed a family of 4. Book now at choicehotels.com to start earning your $50 restaurant gift card.
The adhesive brand trusted by dads is the same adhesive brand trusted by pit crews. For over 50 years, Loctite has formulated adhesive products for some of the world's most challenging jobs. And you'll find that same trusted performance in the Loctite products you use for your important jobs. Loctite. Trusted performance, proven results.
New Year's Eve 2009, Long Beach, California. Travis Pastrana, the longest rally car jump in history.
Welcome to my world, the world of Red Bull.
We just tested Quaker State motor oil that had driven thousands of miles in New York City taxis. And that used Quaker State still passed these critical tests for brand new oil, even when it's ready to be replaced. Quaker State, real, durable oil.
This is Matt Kenseth, and you're watching Speed.
So many unforgettable moments in All-Star Game history.
What can we expect this year?
All-Star Game, check it out on Fox.
Caution, trouble for Joey Logano. Got turned around coming off turn 4. Fortunately, he has not hit anything.
You know what happened there? He just all of a sudden decided to come to pit road, and Carl Edwards was right. Here comes Carl in the yellow car. Joey comes off turn 4 here, and he just decides to slow down, and I don't think he got his hand out the window or anything. It looked like Carl had no idea he was slowing down, but wow, missed that wall.
Stayed on the gas.
That's 2 for 2, and both of them he got in the back of. Well, Gibbs cars got to 18 the first time, and now Logano, but he definitely lifted right in front of Carl.
Certainly did. I don't know if he was getting it. I'm not sure he was getting his hand up or not. Maybe we can tell from if we got an in-car.
On board with Joey.
Whoa, we do. You can tell he was in the throttle pretty far off the corner before he started to slow down, so I just don't think Carl had any idea. Normally, you would drop down going into the 3rd turn, and slow down and give a guy behind you a little hand signal.
And Darrell, I think actually the first few we saw showed it more dramatically how much he slowed down. Watch here.
Right here, he just all of a sudden.
He
and
is way up the racetrack.
I believe what happened is he kind of hit those bumps, Jeff, and the car kind of jumped up in the racetrack with him.
But look at Carl, too. He sees him starting to slow down, and I think he starts to get on the brakes, and his car almost gets sideways.
Watch his 20 car. Up the hill he went right there. Probably on the brakes trying to slow down, and Carl just didn't have any idea that he was going to go to the pits at that point.
And he really didn't have any place to go. He couldn't swerve up. There was a car coming the inside of him, and he couldn't cut it to the bottom of the racetrack either. I think both of them turned out. It was very lucky to get away.
That's a lucky break for both guys.
Right.
25 minutes into this 1 hour, 25-minute practice, caution for Joey Logano as his team starts to assess the damage. Stay with us here at Daytona. We'll be right back while we're under caution.
Imagine if you could keep your engine as close as possible to factory clean. Introducing new Pennzoil Ultra. A revolutionary new synthetic oil that takes clean where it's never been before. Nothing feels like a factory clean engine, and nothing keeps you closer to factory clean than new Pennzoil Ultra motor oil. Get Pennzoil Ultra now at participating O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide.
So, I've arranged for a rental car to be dropped off at your house. You sure you got everything out of your car?
I think so.
Let's get you home.
Why do drivers 50 and over switch to the Hartford? The only auto insurance program endorsed by AARP? More than savings and benefits. We handle the problems you'd expect. And the ones you never knew you had.
You don't know how much this means to me. I'm serious, thank you.
It's my pleasure.
The AARP Auto Insurance Program from the Hartford.
The Coastal Town. Well, hello. It's your TV. I unplugged your cable so I can show you something genius. DirecTV. With DirecTV, now you only need one DVR for the whole house. Record a movie in the living room. Watch it in the bedroom, pause it, and pick it up in the bathroom because you can. I know what you're thinking. Dreams really do come true, and cable can't do that. So give them a call and hook me up. DirecTV, it'll change your life.
Michael Annette, I haven't heard much about him. Michael Annette, born June 23rd, 1986 in Des Moines, Iowa. In 09, he had 35 starts, 13 laps, led 4 top 10s. Favorite sandwich? Grilled cheese. No crust.
The NASCAR Nationwide Series. Get into it.
Yeah, hey, make it out to John from Trevor, number 99. Best career finish came at the very same race as my first career pole. Then it was on to Iowa, and it stopped running.
The NASCAR Nationwide Series. Get into it.
Joey Logano's car in the garage. He just went for a wild ride off of turn 4. Carl Edwards got into the back of that car as Joey slowed down dramatically.
Now you see how that's caved in? That's a good thing. If that was really, really solid and you hit somebody, it would do a lot more damage to you. It would make you actually wreck worse than if you got a little cushion back there that'll give. And these guys have gotten pretty good about running into each other. See Joey up there, and his car gets real loose right up in front of him there. It's kind of bobbling around, bumping around, and all of a sudden I think that was when he decided to abort that lap. Carl had nowhere to go, and he's lucky he didn't nail that wall.
He did a good job. If he was doing a good job, he did everything right.
I think it's maybe the third race in a row down here that we've seen Joey in this position off that corner.
Back underway after a brief 2.5-minute caution. Let me ask you guys this. When you see, as a competitor, when you see something like that happen on the racetrack, does it make you rethink what you want to accomplish in practice, or do you just go ahead and leave the blinders on?
No, listen, you can't predict everything that's going to happen. And these cars are doing 190 miles an hour around this racetrack, and you're focusing on your car for the most part. You're trying to figure out what you need. And, yeah, you see Joey Logano up there, and there's an expectation you have as a driver. You expect guys to be courteous and get their hand up when they're going to go in the pits. There's certain things you expect. When something happens unexpectedly like that, you're going to have an accident.
I'll tell you this, from a crew chief standpoint, if I'm watching the monitor, if I'm on top of that truck, and I start to see somebody cutting in and out of traffic, and my guy's out there,
that's what I'm
going to call my spotter. You need to watch him, or you need to come on in here. I don't like what I'm seeing from here. Because sometimes, like Darrell says, he's focused on his car.
Right.
He can't see all the time what's going on around him, and I've got to help him.
Larry Mack.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to try to grab Joey Logano here in just a second, but right now he's looking with his crew trying to assess the damage on the back of this 20 car. So I'll try to grab him or Carl Edwards, but I will say that Carl Edwards did come down here. Very friendly conversation. They were kind of grinning and smiling. And kind of maybe I think Carl was just trying to get an understanding of exactly what was going on, but I'll try to grab Joey here in just a second.
Yeah, Larry, as we watch Joey enter the third turn, his car gets a little loose on entry. Then he comes on around the corner a little bit, and then it hits those bumps and starts to bounce around. And I think at that point, he said, I'm going to abort. I'm headed to the pits. But he didn't give anybody behind him enough warning, I don't think.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. seemingly none the worse for wear after scraping the wall.
One thing I will say, though, guys, these cars all look like they're loose. They're really moving around a lot on the racetrack.
How about an oil pressure reading when you get a chance inside the 16? 31's going to try to follow. You'll be clear behind the 31.
And Jeff Burton go to the inside.
And Darrell, I know that
all clear, no pressure at all.
This is what a driver wants to be hearing from
the sponsor.
Good information.
I'm trying, TJ.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. talking to TJ spotter. Let's go back to Larry Mack.
Yeah, I was just talking to Carl Edwards. I think he was kind of wanting to know what the replay looked like, but I think you had a bird's eye view of what was going on there, Carl.
Yeah, a bird like a duck. Yeah, we're just coming off the corner there, and I'm trucking along here trying to keep mine on the bottom, and Joey was going to come to pit road, and he just it looked like he just got off the line a little bit farther than he meant to, and there's a lot of Office Depot in the windshield, or Home Depot there in the windshield real quick, and I did everything I could to hit him as square as I could, but just glad he didn't hit anything. He didn't tear up our car too bad, but things happen so fast here that just a little wiggle like that puts you right in the way.
Just real quick, you did come down and talk to him. I think you were just trying to understand what exactly had went on there.
Well, I wasn't sure. He might have been waving earlier, and I might not have been looking, so I didn't know what was going on. And but he was definitely just trying to get to pit road, and no harm, no foul.
Is it always this hot in the garage area here in July?
Seems like it. It's nice and warm.
Larry, I'm going to go find me some air conditioning.
Larry, I can answer that question for you. Yes.
Okay. And you should definitely know. You should know.
Yes, sir.
Larry, the sun's not even out. It's cloudy. It's overcast. I know the sun's not out because your hair's not red.
But the humidity is still here, guys. I promise you.
Where's our telestrator?
Larry, maybe you can find a hat like you had at Michigan.
Well, guys, while we've been talking to Larry, I've been watching this 2 car. He is slicing through the field. He came down the back straightaway.
He has
really got a run on the 9 car right there, and he made up a lot of ground. We got a pretty good little battle, pretty good little group right here about midway through this practice of about 10 or 12 cars. And that's when you start seeing the speeds get backed up.
Well, that's where the bigger restrictor plate as well. Well, that closing rate is something that the drivers have to deal with. They have to figure out. The cars are going to close up on each other a lot quicker than they did down here in February, but maybe not all that much quicker than they did at Talladega because the closing rate there was pretty high as well.
And we haven't said a whole lot about that number 2 car right there, but he's currently 19th on the practice chart, but he is probably one of the best, super speedway racers we've got. I mean, he really does an outstanding job, and he's helped a lot of guys get through the field, plus he helped Ryan Newman win the Daytona 500 a few years ago.
Work continues on Logano's number 20. Stay with us here in Daytona.
August 21st, the Irwin Tools Night Race at Bristol Motor Speedway. The trophy that means more than money or points. The track where drivers settle old grudges and create new ones. The one race every NASCAR fan has to see. And for the first time in over 25 years, you can get tickets. There's racing, and then there's Bristol. August tickets on sale now. Call 423-BRISTOL today.
First is the beginning. First kicks open the door, and possibilities follow. First resets everything. First moves us forward, fast. We all want first. First isn't later, it's now. What will you do first with Evo, the first 4G phone? Only from Sprint, the Now Network.
The challenge makes you stronger.
Every day, every moment.
You want my belt? Come and get it.
So, you want to be a fighter? This is how.
Rated T for teen.
Last appointment, my dermatologist said lotion with sunscreen all over.
Introducing Gold Bond Ultimate Protection Body Lotion. Moisturizers, vitamins, plus sunscreen.
Soft and safe every day.
New Gold Bond Ultimate Protection.
This stuff really works.
With Gold Bond medicated powder, you've got the power of fast, lasting relief from wetness, irritation, and itch. And that Gold Bond Cooling Rush says it's working like ordinary powders can't. Look for the healing seal, Gold Bond medicated. The powder with the power.
Exclusive coverage as NASCAR reveals the list of 25 nominees for the next class of the Hall of Fame. Mike Joy, Kyle Petty, and NASCAR's Robin Pemberton join me at a special time, 8 p.m. Eastern tonight on NASCAR Race Hub.
Yeah, he needs to get mad.
Yeah, he needs to be raising Cain right now. I can't. Y'all gonna kill me. I can't drive this thing.
Saturday, the Rolex Sports Car Series explodes like Independence Day firecrackers as the red-hot Ganassi team shoots for win number 6. And in the GT, the Turner Motorsports team hopes to drive their BMW M6 to a second consecutive win. Don't miss the Rolex Sports Car Series from Daytona Saturday, 1 Eastern, and only on Speed. Now, moments ago, we were just talking as we came back from commercial. Watch David Reagan in the 6 car.
Man, he's just, the car is just, I don't know how he's hanging on to it because it's just half spun out every lap. And I was absolutely shocked when I heard him say it was better.
Yeah. Lindsay.
Steve, I'm here with the driver that used to make up fake credentials when he was a kid to sneak his way into Daytona here so he could watch him race. Ryan Newman, how do you like your race car?
The Tornado Chevrolet is pretty good. It's good on speed and it feels pretty good handling-wise. We got 21 laps on that set of tires. Made a little change here. We'll go back out and see what it's like.
Ryan Newman, happy with the handling. Hello, Larry.
I'm
Larry
here.
Mack. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm tongue-tied. It's Ryan Newman. I can't help myself. Thanks.
All right, I got the other half of the equation from a while ago. I got Joey Logano. Joey, you ran a ton of laps in that first practice. You'd run a few in that practice. But what exactly happened coming off turn 4?
Rookie mistake, I guess you want to call it that. I screwed up. I was going to come down pit road that lap, and yeah, right here, and I was going to come down, and right here I started slipping up the racetrack. It's like, oh, and I started checking up too much, and I didn't let Carl know good enough that what I was trying to do. So we're lucky we don't have more damage than what we have, but you know, I just feel stupid about it. You know, we have a good home depot tire, and I still think we're going to be all right when we get back out there, but need a new back bumper to fix it up. So I'm confident these guys will get it. They'll get it fixed up, and hopefully we get back out there before end of practice.
Now, I know you're just making your 4th Sprint Cup Series start here, but these things are definitely a handful out there, aren't they?
It's nothing easy about it. I promise you that. There's definitely a lot of guys sliding around, and with this new spoiler package, the cars drove a lot different than what they have previous years compared to the wings. So everyone's been kind of, or at least we've been kind of fighting to kind of get a balance with that, and yeah, I feel like we're getting closer. We're just trying to fine-tune it a little bit.
All right, Daryl, I know Joey pretty good. He's like a sponge when it comes to absorbing information. I bet he won't do that again in practice.
No, Larry, and a lot of that is what you don't know, And I think right there he learned a valuable lesson that could really pay off big time for him in the race Saturday night. So, and what I like about Joey Logano, he mans up. Hey, rookie mistake. I screwed up. Sorry.
On board with Kevin Harvick, looking back at Sam Hornish Jr. Darryl, I'm wondering, this time of day, it's overcast, it's also dusk, it's hard to see, even though the lights are on here. Is it difficult for Carl Edwards to see, even if Joey was waving his hand?
No, that really, vision had really not a whole lot to do with that, Steve. It just honestly was a mistake. Kid got up the track a little bit, and he kind of probably, he knew he was going up the hill too much. He backed out the throttle too much. I'm sure Carl saw what was happening, but nothing you can do at 190 miles an hour. Carl would have probably wrecked himself if he hadn't actually gotten into the back of Joey's car a little bit.
I think he made the right decision. If he'd have cut up, it would have been more than just one car involved or 2 cars involved.
But this is a transition, though, Steve. As the evening comes and the lights start to come up and it starts to get dark, you do go through a big transition as far as how the racetrack looks to you, perspective-wise.
Hearing a report, there might be some raindrops. It's been dark clouds all around, particularly to the west of this racetrack.
Yeah, they've been dodging it all day long.
That's why I can't understand why Larry's complaining about how hot it is. I mean, it's cloudy.
Hey, guys, that's not raindrops. That's not raindrops. It's my sweat.
There is one thing, though, watching this 29 car, he lost the draft. He waited on this pack to get to him. Then he got the head of it, and he's been leading the last 2 or 3 laps. But I was noticing that the engine, he never lifted the entire time. He was able to keep that 29 car flat to the mat and keep those guys at bay.
Well, he had a great car down here in February, and all through the race in the Daytona 500, we thought he was the guy to beat. He could pretty well go where he wanted to. He could get to the lead when he wanted to, but the green-white checkers caught him out. And he got messed up there on one of those restarts, and he wasn't able to get back to the front. Very fast race car.
Marcus Ambrose back out. You see the little Daytona stripe to the right side of his Kingsford Toyota. Kenseth and Edwards teammates, nose to tail.
But, you know, Steve, I got to tell you, when you've got cars that are running as fast as these are, and you hit a bump on the racetrack or something happens and the car moves around a little bit, you don't just let off the throttle and touch the brake and get it back under control. There's a whole lot of oh-no's goes on in one of these race cars at Daytona. When you hit those bumps, it takes off. You say, oh, no, am I going to catch it or not?
Except you don't really say no.
No, I cleaned that up.
I know you did. I know you did.
It's a family show.
It is. Scott Speed in the 82 alongside Matt Kenseth to the inside of Kenseth.
Now, Steve, excuse me, I was talking about the 29 car just a moment ago leading the pack. He let himself go all the way to the back of this pack. Now he's playing, hey, let me see if I can catch you. He's getting this thing in position several different places around the racetrack to see what his car has and see if he can suck back up on him, Darrell.
Think back to Talladega. What did Kevin Harvick do in practice? What did Billy O'Day tell him in the race when they're coming down to get the checkered flag? He timed everything perfectly.
Now.
And that same thing he did at Talladega. I saw him all through practice, fall to the back of everybody, run back up there, see how long it took. He's counting laps. How long does it take to get to the front?
Well, guess what? He's coming.
And Darrell, it's exactly what you said at the top of this broadcast. You've got to find out now.
Well, we wanted to do something for our fans.
I want Kyle Busch in a pink car in a pink suit.
And now, they get to be our sponsors.
This has always been artistic.
And she loves those cats.
Who doesn't like kittens, bunnies, and little baby seals?
I love you.
No, thank you, sweetheart.
No, write that on the spoiler.
Okay.
Design a new car, win new prizes at ToyotaRacing.com.
We just tested Quaker State motor oil that had driven thousands of miles in New York City taxis. And that used Quaker State still passed these critical tests for brand new oil, even when it's ready to be replaced. Quaker State, real, durable oil.
How do you get to be the leader of the pack? Simple. Out push, pull, and lift everybody else. Oh, and a herd of beefed-up friends sure doesn't hurt. So let's forget one size fits all and go with a take-your-pick line of powerhouses. Then slap on a 5-year powertrain warranty like you mean it. Well, neighbor, take a good look at the #1 selling tractor in the world. The Hindra.
Speed's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Final Practice from Daytona is brought to you by Kills Primers, the perfect start to a great finish, and by Mahindra. Visit your local dealer to test drive a Mahindra tractor today. And we are under caution for the second time. Rain clouds have basically circled this racetrack, and we're getting a few raindrops on the track surface. So caution coming at the 42-minute mark, and we'll go back to Lindsey Zarniak.
Thanks, Steve. I think that Larry Mack is probably cooking up a show and tell, but I got one on my own. Look, this is Kurt Busch out of his car. We don't normally see you in glasses.
Yeah, I'm just trying them out. Tag Heuer gave me some night vision glasses and trying it out in the car to see how it feels. And it's different. It illuminates the light that's there, and it really gives you a crisper perspective. So it's interesting inside the car.
How much of a hindrance can that be, that change to nighttime?
Well, there's some shadows out there, and then you get the lights that come in through the mirror because the lights are shining in through the backside of the car, and so you're trying to knock down glare. But overall, with our Miller Lite Dodge, we're pretty good. We're just tailing off towards the loose side as we run. So that's what we're going to work on. Is maybe we'll get another long run in here to double check her.
I know the glasses are going to help you. Might not wear them out in public. That's just my opinion.
Hey, we're looking good. I love those guys from Tag Heuer. They're great.
All right, best of luck. Larry, you might look good at some of these.
I don't know about that. I've probably got a pretty good idea what the glare is. It would be my forehead. I actually beat Darrell to that. Now, you heard Jeff Hammond at the top of the show talk about some of the rules that NASCAR has here at Daytona. They issue the guys the rear shocks. They can't adjust the rear shocks, but each team will basically run the same rear shock package. But even though they mandate the rear spring rate, they give these guys an option. You can run a 550, a 575, or a 600. Now for speed, what you would want is 550s in both rears, left rear and right rear. That gets that rear spoiler out of the air going down the straightaway. Chances are, those guys that are outside the top 35, this is what they have in both rears trying to get that spoiler out of there for qualifying. But there's no question, as I walk through the garage here, we're seeing a lot of the top 35 teams play with the right rear spring, putting a 575, putting a 600, trying to get that right rear corner of the spoiler up in the air, which will actually make the car a little bit snugger getting in the corner. But here's the interesting thing. If you want to change your rear spring, you have to come here to NASCAR. They go to your car, they cut a seal on the rear spring, they take the one you're taking out, give you the new one, and then you can practice it, leave it in there, or change it back to another spring.
Wow. Just to change the spring, you got to get a NASCAR inspector to come over and help you do it.
Like I said, it's not easy.
Guys, we completely ignore one-lap speeds, but let's take a look at 5-lap averages. Jeff Gordon in the 24 is the quickest. And Darrell, how relevant is this? We see Jeff Gordon also leading 10-lap.
Well, this is what I would look at if I was getting ready to race. If I were getting ready to qualify, I would be more concerned about 1 or 2 laps. But it's these 10-lap long runs, 20 laps here. Look at Jeff Gordon. We know he's got a pretty good car. Juan Pablo's been up there in all those top 5, 10s, and now 20. Looks like some guys that got a car for the short and the long run.
But to me, what's impressive is, talk about the, Jeff Gordon's car and Juan Pablo Montoya, but you also notice that Jimmy Johnson's car looks to me like it's getting stronger each time we've seen it. It was at the bottom of the 15-lap average. It was third at the 20-lap average, so that car is hanging around. That's what you're looking for, is longevity in a car that will stick with you over that 20-lap run.
Let's go back to Lindsey.
Hey guys, I'm standing by here with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale, you were pretty happy with the car, weren't you?
Well, we were the first practice. That second practice, the car was fine, and I got in the fence a little bit, just raced it too hard, and I think we knocked the toe out, so something on the right front suspension moved in a little bit, a ball joint or something like that got bent. Well, we went back out and ran. It's a little bit loose, so we're gonna look at the right front suspension, fix that, and should be good to go. It's a little slick out there, but it's fun. It's pretty cool.
Big picture, you were so close to that top 12. How does that change things for you, especially coming to a track where you've had so much success?
Well, yeah, I mean, especially here, we've had a lot of success, but if you look at the races where we didn't run good, about half of them we wrecked out of or gotten something, and we ain't been too competitive here lately. We ran second to 500, but we had tires. We'll try to do it the best we can, and if the car will get up through there, we'll drive it up through there. But we got a special paint scheme, eight soldiers for 8 missions, and with the guard, it's pretty cool, and we're happy about that. And those guys have great stories to tell everybody here this weekend, and they represent everybody in the guard and working in the military. We're real happy to have them here. All the support that they give us, we support them right back.
You have a special opportunity also before I let you go. Tomorrow night, that nationwide race, driving the number 3 car. How much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I'm glad to be back in it. I remember when I drove that car for 2 years in 98, 99, I didn't realize how lucky I was. But I know what it means now after all this time, and I'm glad to be back in it. The car's running good. That pace scheme looks great, and we're happy for Wrangler. It's a great program for them, and you know, Tony Jr., I'm enjoying working with him a little bit, and the crew is doing a great job. Hopefully we can get a great finish and a win, and have something at Jerry Motorsports to celebrate. We've been having a little bit rough. We run pretty good this year, but not as good as we did last year with Brad, and we're just trying to get our team back on track, and maybe something this weekend will kickstart it.
All right, Dale Earnhardt Jr., thanks.
And we saw footage of that 3-car. That was from nationwide practice and reminiscent of one tough customer.
Oh, yeah. That was a flashback. That could have been 20 years ago down here with Dale, maybe longer than that, I guess, actually. But, yeah, that car even looked like the car Dale drove body-wise.
Well, Lindsay talked about Jeff. She talked about how close Dale Earnhardt Jr. is to that top 12. He's just 3 back. He can see it, he can smell it, he can taste it. And all he's got to do is get her there.
3s are coming up a lot here for him today.
Just bought our first home.
But it has some stains on the walls.
That's why we choose Kills Primer.
Painting my new fence. Need to block the wood grain from showing through. I choose Kills Primer.
For covering bold colors, I choose Kills.
I never ask a paint to do a primer's job. Priming first gives me better results with fewer top coats. I choose Kills Primer.
Homeowners and pros know that a little prep goes a long way, especially when you're using the #1 primer in the U.S. Kills. It's the perfect start to a great finish.
As your power steering pump ages, seal leaks may occur, causing the power steering system to lose fluid. Your power steering system may also develop an annoying squeal, and the steering may become more difficult to handle. By using Lucas Power Steering Stop Leak, you will stop the seal leaks, reduce slack in rack and pinions, eliminate the squeals and hard spots in your power steering system. It is guaranteed to stop seal leaks or your money back. Lucas Power Steering Stop Leak. It works.
The adhesive brand trusted by dads is the same adhesive brand trusted by pit crews. For over 50 years, Loctite has formulated adhesive products for some of the world's most challenging jobs. And you'll find that same trusted performance in the Loctite products you use for your important jobs. Loctite. Trusted performance, proven results.
A little over 30 minutes from now, you will see who the 25 nominees are for the second class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, a special edition of NASCAR Race Up at 8 Eastern. The 25 nominees for the second class will be announced. Tony Stewart has won 3 of the last 5 July races here.
Kind of watching him, Steve. He started at the back of a group of cars here. And again, we talked about Kevin Harvick there a little bit ago and trying to see how long it takes to work your way to the front. I think that's what Tony's doing here. You know, if you get down to the end of a race tomorrow night or Saturday night and you get shuffled back some way, you got to know how many laps you got left. If you got 10, 12, how long is it going to take me to work my way back to the front?
Like you said, you don't know until you get out there and try it.
You got to get out there and put yourself in this position. So you say, okay, we need to work on X, whatever X may be.
Darian Grubb and the rest of the team, or some of the rest of the team, looking
Robert
on.
Burnett, red 09.
Jeff, likely, what is Darian Grubb? What notes is he making right now?
A lot of times when I'm in a situation like this, I like to write down the guys you're running with in the pack, so that you can kind of come back in and say, look, you know, you were out here with these guys.
Back straight away. Big trouble.
Big wreck.
Got turned, guys.
Denny Hamlin's involved.
Tony is
14 got caught up too.
Tony's in it too.
God damn.
I thought Tony was going to save his car, but he got down that loose stuff and it just turned on him.
A lot of damage to the Toyota, the FedEx Toyota of Denny Hamlin.
Something happens here as we start down the back straightaway. Ooh, the 11 car.
Reed Sorensen in the 83.
18.
Paul Menard able to duck by there on the bottom.
Looked to me like the 37 got into Tony.
See Tony there. I thought he had it saved and it bounced right out into the outside wall of the car to the left of the screen there.
So 53 minutes in on board with Kyle Busch.
Here we go. We ought to be able to see what happened right here. Whoops. I'm not so sure that it looked like the 18 may have nerfed the 11. What do you think? Is that what you saw, or did the 37 move over?
Got to see it again. We know one thing for sure. There's a lot of torn up race cars. Denny Hamlin brings his Toyota down to the pit road.
Yeah,
54 minutes into this practice.
That means that all three of the Joe Gibbs cars have been involved in an accident here during practices.
From Ryan Newman's car, you see the 18.
Yeah, he just got into just clipped the 11, just
Definitely
slightly trying to get back in behind and get in line. And again, these cars are pretty fast, and they got a really fast closing rate. Just misjudged that one.
Well, Jeff, this is final practice, so what's going to happen now if you're the 11 car?
I know what I'm doing. Boys, bring that other car down here, will you? Because we're about to run out of cars.
Casey Mears getting out of that. No, Reed Sorensen getting out of the 83 car.
Yeah, she's done. You watch it. This is a really good look.
This will
right
tell
here.
the tale.
I think what happens is the 18 comes up and he just barely nerfed him. But that's all it took.
One more look from Kyle Busch's perspective.
See the 83 on the bottom, 11 up on top. Hamlin. 18's going to try to get right in tight on behind his teammate, push him by the 83, but timed it wrong.
We're under caution for the third time in this practice. You see Kyle Busch in the garage area. Big pileup here on the backstretch. 53 minutes in. Backup cars starting to be unloaded here at Daytona. We'll be right back.
When my dad wasn't racing cars, he was rebuilding them. And the same went for me. That's why when I want to look for a classic to rebuild, I go to Copart.com. Copart.com has over 50,000 vehicles online to choose from every day. Everything from classics, cars, trucks, motorcycles, rebuilders, you name it. That's what makes Copart.com the virtual auction for people who are passionate about cars, like me, Carl Edwards. Copart.com, where car guys get cars.
This 4th of July, celebrate your freedom from interest rates, freedom to choose from a great selection, and freedom to drive Chevrolet, an American brand. Now get 0% APR financing on any 2010 Chevy Silverado for an average savings of around $6,000. Save over $3,800 on Malibu and over $5,000 on the Chevy Traverse crossover. Freedom from interest rates and a whole lot more to celebrate. But you gotta hurry because it all ends July 6th. Visit Winter Chevrolet in Pittsburgh today.
I should know. Why should I go when everybody's trying? Tomorrow I don't know. Don't tell me you're sure about it. We can be strong. I say we can be strong. We can be strong. I say we can be strong.
Still under caution here at Daytona. Big wreck on the backstretch. 53 minutes in to this 1 hour, 25-minute practice in the garage area, guys. A very busy place.
It is, and of course, you know, we talk about why do you practice. You certainly don't practice so you have these kind of results, but you do have to put yourself out there in harm's way to find out what kind of race car you got.
A backup for Reed Sorensen in the 83 car, Red Bull Racing. Saw Tony Stewart a moment ago taking a look at his car.
I believe he was this one disappointed individual because he had a fast race car. I mean, it was it could lead or it could either come from the back through the field, and that's what he was trying to do right then, and he got caught up in somebody else's mistake.
Yeah.
And Darrell, you know yourself as a race car driver, that's just like getting hit in the stomach with a gut shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, particularly when you're happy. You know, you've got, like you said, everything's going your way. I would almost guarantee you Tony have a outstanding shot at winning this race, and he still does. He's not out of the race, obviously, but this is a setback for him. I guess that makes all three Gibbs cars The 18s
They've got
and
damage, but you got 2 backup cars and one other car they're working on a repair.
This is Tony's car they're backing out here. And all these backup cars now are there's not a lot of difference in them. I'm sure this is probably equally as good a car as he had. He just hadn't been in it enough to get comfortable in it, possibly.
And not to state the blind obvious, but Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch, teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing.
And
let's take another look at what happened from Tony Stewart's perspective. You're on board with him from his roof camera.
yeah, he's back pretty far here, so he's picking, trying to figure out where he wants to go. And then I think that 37 crowded him off in the grass. Right there, he just came back on the racetrack and couldn't hang. He just came back off of the grass and shot across the track. You see he slows down. I think he's starting to see it right here. He slows down. The 37 didn't get slowed down quite as much. He got into the side of Tony, and when Tony comes back out on the track, just couldn't quite keep it off the wall.
That's Robert Richardson Jr. in the 37 car this week.
It's funny because I believe I heard Tony Spotter just prior to this happening saying Richardson's in that 37. Not that he did anything wrong, other than the fact that Tony saw the wreck and was slowing down.
And they've had a run-in earlier this season, but looks like now they're sorting things through, Darrell.
I'm pretty impressed, actually. They're not shaking their fists at each other. They're not shouting at each other. I think they're both listening. Denny, I'm not sure, is buying all that Kyle is selling, but nonetheless, they are discussing this rather civil.
Darrell, I read one of your online columns, and you had a good point. Everybody's talking about, as we take another look, paybacks and what this driver's going to do to that driver. They have to let it go.
Yeah.
And that was your point.
No, listen, you can't win a championship. You can't win a race if every time you go on the racetrack you got a grudge with somebody or somebody's out to get you. That, I don't care whether they do or not. In the back of your mind, if you have a grudge with someone, every time you see them on the racetrack, you're going to have second thoughts about what to do. And you can't win a championship, and you can't be a winning car if you have to worry about people always after you trying to take you out.
Jeff Crew Chiefs, Mike Ford on the left, Dave Rogers to the right, talking about what to do next.
Well, I think Dave Rogers has come over to talk to Mike Ford as well as to Denny Hamlin and to apologize. I mean, I know as a crew chief and being a teammate, you never want to see your teammates having to work hard because of something that went on. And you feel bad about it. So it's kind of like, I'm here. What can we do to help you?
And, the other thing may be the discussion here. Look, our backup car might be better than your backup car. And there's a possibility they could even be discussing something, let us give you our backup car.
Speaking of backups, Tony's is being pulled out.
Well, one of the things you might want to think about, it's a little bit different, especially if the two drivers are not compatible. That could be one of the biggest negatives right there, because you don't want to have to start trying to put seats in or change pedals.
Oh, yeah.
That can be very important. You've already talked about the mirrors and everything.
I'm sure I don't think that's what they were talking about, but I'm just saying that there's always that option if you had to. What are they saying down there, Larry?
Well, right now, I mean, we're racing the weather. It's starting to sprinkle pretty good here in the garage area, and these guys are trying their best. I know I talked to the group from Tony Stewart. They're trying to get that 14 car back out there at least for a lap or two if the weather allows. But, one thing you mentioned about the backup car being better than the primary, I talked to Casey Kane after that first practice, and he said, Larry, this backup car is much better than that primary car I wrecked in that first practice.
Hey, Larry, how many times have you heard that?
More than I would like to remember.
It beats all I've ever seen. You unload a backup car. You got your best piece out there on the track. You unload your backup car, and driver says, oh, this car is a lot better than that one we had.
Yeah, or just as good. This one's
or
just
equally as good after you've done massage on it for 2 months.
We've been under caution for about 11, 12 minutes now after the big pileup on the back stretch. Stay with us here at Daytona. We'll update the situation from the garage area.
Breathtaking. Ladies, hello. It's me again, your TV. I cut your cable to show you a no-brainer, DirecTV. With DirecTV, you can record a show in this room, so the kids can watch it in this room. Or this room. Or perhaps this room. Any room. I'm talking options, ladies. You love them. DirecTV has them. So give them a call. DirecTV. It'll change your life.
We're pretty good about cutting down on our bills. What? Hi, honey. Lights out.
But to save even more money, we went to Lowe's.
I told them an Energy Star washer would save about $500 a lifetime, and a WaterSense toilet can save up to $90 a year.
Plus, Lowe's is the only retailer to win the EPA's highest award from Energy Star and WaterSense.
They're trying to embarrass me.
No!
Oh, come on.
Experience. Lowe's. Let's build something together. Come into Lowe's and take 20% off Whirlpool or 10% off other major appliances, $397 and up.
Imagine if you could keep your engine as close as possible to factory clean. Introducing new Pennzoil Ultra, a revolutionary new synthetic oil that takes clean where it's never been before. Nothing feels like a factory clean engine, and nothing keeps you closer to factory clean than new Pennzoil Ultra motor oil. Get Pennzoil Ultra now at participating O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide.
The anticipation is building, and tonight is the night. Coming up on NASCAR Race Hub, we reveal the list of 25 people who will be nominated for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Who will be on the list and who won't? Find out tonight on a special NASCAR Race Hub beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Back at the Daytona International Speedway, we've been under caution for about 13 minutes after a big pileup on the backstretch that involved 5-6 different race cars. And I want to remind you that about 20 minutes from now, also you see some raindrops coming down on the backstretch. About 20 minutes from now, a special edition of NASCAR Race Hub. The 25 nominees for the second class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame will be announced. And Darrell, you were one of the nominees for the first class. I have every confidence you'll be a nominee for this class. But I want to get your impressions, you and Jeff both. We heard about the Hall of Fame in NASCAR for so many years, really. And Jeff and I live in that area, as does Larry and a lot of other folks. But when it became reality, it really overwhelmed me of how big it is to the sport. What were your emotions or your thoughts about it, Darrell?
Yeah, I think as you look at the Hall of Fame, and it's the NASCAR Hall of Fame, it covers all the, not just Cup or Nationwide or trucks, or it covers every form of racing that drivers are involved in, and crew chiefs as well. It's a huge accomplishment, or it's a huge step forward for our sport to have our own Hall of Fame. I've said this so many times, but it really just rings in my ears every time I think about it. I always like to hear that somebody say, "Oh, he's a Hall of Famer," or "He is a future Hall of Famer." Those are just, that means it puts you it kind of puts you a cut above.
Larry Mack.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Kyle Busch, and you and I were just talking. Mother always said there'd be days like today. What do you think happened there on that one, Kyle?
This has just been one of those days, but man, I hate it for the 11, the 14, the 83, the guys that got caught up in that. I misjudged it, just tried to jump back in line a little too fast, and just hooked the 11 just enough, man. And at these speeds and with not a whole lot of grip here, whether you're in the corners or on the straightaways, I just turned them sideways. So I apologize to all the guys involved. I hate it for them, but I feel like our interstate batteries, Camry's not bad. The first one was really fast, and the 6 got loose in front of me, and we just got hit from behind. Nothing Carl could do on that one. And then this one here was all my fault, and we tore up a few others there. So JGR hasn't been doing too well today, but hopefully come Saturday we can have some good race cars and hang out up front.
Kyle, you've got a number of starts here in all 3 series, and I was talking to your teammate Denny Hamlin after the first practice, and he said this place feels like it has aged 5 years in the last year, just absolutely no grip whatsoever.
Well, not only that, but the bumps have just gotten worse. I mean, they're huge. That swell that's in 1 and 2 where the new patch is, I know why now we dug a hole in the racetrack. It's because everybody's car is bottoming out through it, and eventually when you wear enough asphalt out of the place, it gets too thin, starts cracking and breaking. But man, it's just it is really, really slick out there for these cars, and Goodyear's brought a nice tire here. It's just you can't, with this age on the asphalt, you just can't get a hold of it. So it'll be nice to repave it. I like the bumps, I like the character it gives this place, but to try to race around here like us idiots try to do at 200 miles an hour, it's hard enough as it is.
We really appreciate you coming out and talk to us, Kyle. Good luck tomorrow in that new Nationwide Series car, and good luck on Saturday night.
You got it. Thanks, Larry.
I think one thing that Larry and Jeff see that you got to remember is the cars are running faster. Bumps, if you're in a passenger car and you go down a road that's got bumps in it, the faster you go, the more they move the car around. So I'm just telling you, the speeds are higher, and that's making the cars move around more and the bumps bigger.
Oh, but guys, guess what? I think, Lindsay, you called up Reed Sorensen, another one of those guys that got caught up in that big wreck.
Yeah, I did. He was actually just over talking to Denny Hamlin here in the number 11 garage stall. What were you guys talking about?
I just asked him what happened. It was all behind me, so I couldn't see it, and my spotter told me that it looked like the 18 clipped Denny, and I guess he hit our right rear. But that's what happens here. You'll be going straight, and then next thing you know, you'll be in a wreck and not know why. But that I don't know what the backup car's like. I think it's pretty good. They said it is. So these Red Bull guys do a great job, and I'm sure they'll get it just like this one. And that one was fast. That's why I'm kind of sad about it. That the 83 car was fast, and we made a good change there right before we went back out, and we didn't plan on running long because coming out at the end of the day, and it sucks for something to happen that late. But like I said, the Red Bull guys do a great job, and we'll get after it tomorrow night.
Reed, how difficult is it for you when you're in this position where obviously you want to make the most of every single opportunity? You have to go to a backup, like you said. You don't know what that car's worth.
Yeah, it should be fine. I mean, they have great race cars over there, so I'm pretty confident that they'll be fine, and I'm not really that worried about it. I think we'll be okay.
Best of luck. Great tours.
But Steve, we talk about luck. We talk about sometimes statistics. You take a look at, like Kyle Busch's statistic here for the last 3 races at Daytona. He's finished 14th or worse. And his teammate, Denny Hamlin, I mean, as good as he's been everywhere else, he's finished 17th or worse in 8 out of his 9 Daytona races. I mean, this place has not been good to either one of those guys. I mean, so something like this is another setback, and you're just it kind of like, I guess you might say, it turns you against a racetrack like Daytona because you can't quite get it going.
As good as that team right there was up until they went to Sonoma, and then they also had trouble, last week in New Hampshire, a team that looked like was a challenger to the 48, all of a sudden looks a little fallible out there on the racetrack, and looks like they're not hitting their stride like the 48 team is.
Well, I think, again, it goes back to what has been so impressive about that 48 team. Even when they kind of hit a little bit of a slump, they rebound with authority. And that's, where we were kind of questioning the 11 and maybe Joe Gibbs Racing in recent years. They can put on a hot streak. They can get the 18 flying. They can get the 11 car getting into victory lane. But what happens when they have a little bit of a slump? How do they rebound?
Yeah. Their highs and their lows don't match up too good.
Still seeing a lot of work being done down in the garage area and trying to figure out, what we're going to be able to get accomplished here. There's the 14 car of Tony Stewart. Again, not a lot of damage, but just enough to have to force him to go to a backup car. Undoubtedly, it's probably bent the rear end housing and that rear clip over. Means you got to go to a backup.
Yes, sir.
Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll find out who the 25 nominees are for the second class of the Hall of Fame. And that's exclusively here on Speed, a special edition of NASCAR Race Hub, 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
Tonight, who will follow in the footsteps of Petty, Johnson, Earnhardt, France Sr., and France Jr.? Find out as the nominees for the second class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame are unveiled exclusively on NASCAR Race Hub. Tonight at 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
My truck isn't something you want to see in your rearview mirror.
My truck is a 3,400-pound precision-guided sledgehammer.
I guess you could say my truck likes to take the path less traveled.
My truck never gets claustrophobic in tight spaces.
My truck doesn't haul tools, but hardware, that's a different story.
The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Tough trucks, tough racing.
Wake up your whiskers with Electric Shave.
Electric Shave!
Stands up whiskers for an up to 52% closer shave.
Man, that was close.
Electric shave. Blade close. Electric smooth.
They itch, sweat, burn, smell. You could have foot dermatitis. It's what Gold Bond medicated foot powder was made for. Medicated to tackle the itch. Keeps feet dry. Look for the healing seal. Gold Bond foot powder. Works as hard as your feet.
Imagine if you could keep your engine as close as possible to factory clean. Introducing new Pennzoil Ultra. A revolutionary new synthetic oil that takes clean where it's never been before. Nothing feels like a factory clean engine, and nothing keeps you closer to factory clean than new Pennzoil Ultra motor oil. Get Pennzoil Ultra now at participating O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide.
Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup Final Practice is brought to you by Sprint, the Now Network, and by Loctite Adhesives and Sealants. Trusted performance, proven results. Well, this practice was scheduled for 1 hour, 25 minutes. We're getting word now from NASCAR that this practice is over. Raindrops over parts of the racetrack. Let's go to the garage now and rejoin Lindsay.
Steve, certainly not the way any driver wants to end practice, but Denny Hamlin, thank you for coming out to talk to us. What is your frustration level right now?
Usually when we come to super speedway, it seems like nowadays we need to prepare our backup cars as good as more so than our primaries. But same thing that happens a lot of times here at this track. Kyle just misjudged it by a hair, and you know, it caused a wreck. But I've done it before, and most everyone in this garage has done it before at some time or another super speedway racing. But you know, it's just this is our last one, so we can't. Luckily, practice is over, and you know, he's got a backup. We have a backup, and he was going to have to use this car if he wrecked again. So luckily, you know, as crazy as it sounds, luckily he didn't get damaged because you know then we would have been short one car.
Denny Hamlin going to get back out there in a backup car, Larry.
Well, right now, Tony Stewart is actually working on the car that was involved in the accident. I'm going to try to move in here and get a little word with Tony. Tony, on the quarter panel, it says, have it your way. I'm not sure that's exactly what you had in mind on this.
No, not at all. It's we still need to do some work. That's why we were still out there, but it just ended up costing us there. But it's just part of it. Can't get away from it sometimes.
Tony, I know you always talk about, you know, you love the summer months, you love the slick racetracks. I think this was about as slick as Daytona's ever been, just talking to some of the other drivers.
Yeah, it's been kind of difficult to get grip here for some reason. We started out really tight and then just got loose, and now we can't get tight enough again. So we're just fighting the balance, but just hoping we get this other car out before the rain sets in for good.
Yeah, just one last thing, Tony. You know, I know you guys were searching a little bit during the spring races, but it just seems like all of a sudden here as we're getting in these summer months and we're in the race to the chase, you guys are really starting to come on, especially when you look at that second place run last week.
Yeah, I was really proud of everybody at SHR last week, Darian and these guys, and the tests that we did to get ready for Milwaukee, just trying to search. And even though it wasn't a guarantee that what we learned in Milwaukee was going to work, I think we found some things that helped us for Loudon, and we just got to keep digging. So, you know, we got everybody at Office Depot and Burger King and Old Spice on our, you know, behind us here and still rooting us on. So we'll get back where we need to be.
All right, Tony, I appreciate it. Good luck. And, guys, there's even been some confusion with the race teams down here because this is an impound race, and because this happened before qualifying, all these guys going to backup cars, they will get to start where they actually qualify tomorrow as long as they don't go against the impound procedure.
Well, that's a good thing right there as far as that's concerned. But, Larry, why don't you go down there and go and grab a wrench, big boy? I mean, you get your hands dirty. You got a driver down there that, you know, you probably could do a better job than he is.
And guys, I want to tell you, I was a little nervous about that interview, just to be honest with you. Just to be totally honest. You just never know. That's like sticking your toe in the pool, not knowing if someone cut the heater off or cut the heater on right there.
He was
great.
I was waiting for that hood to come down on your head. Oh, accidentally, by the way.
It was a real relief when she finally said, throw back to the booth.
More like a pool of piranhas.
Well, practice is officially over, and coming up, At 8 o'clock Eastern, you'll find out the 25 nominees for the second class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Coming up next, who will follow in the footsteps of Petty, Johnson, Earnhardt, France Sr., and France Jr.? Find out as the nominees for the second class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame are unveiled exclusively on NASCAR Race Hub. Coming up next, only on Speed. Friday, NASCAR returns to Daytona, and we're there for live Sprint Cup qualifying. Then Kevin Harvick and Casey Kane bring the party to NASCAR trackside. Live coverage begins Friday at 4 Eastern with NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying. Only on Speed.
It can happen anytime, when you least expect it. A regular moment can become romantic. And when it does, men with erectile dysfunction can be more confident in their ability to be ready with Cialis. With 2 clinically proven dosing options, you can choose the moment that's right for you and your partner. 36-hour Cialis and Cialis for daily use. Cialis for daily use is a low-dose tablet you take every day so you can be ready anytime the moment's right.
Tell your doctor about your medical condition and all medications and ask if you're healthy enough for sexual activity.
Don't take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure.
Don't drink alcohol in excess with Cialis. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle ache. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. If you have any sudden decrease or loss in hearing or vision, stop taking Cialis and call your doctor right away.
36-hour Cialis or Cialis for daily use. Ask your doctor if Cialis is right for you. You can be ready for your moment with Cialis.
Finding free NASCAR merchandise and gear just got easier. Just enter your official NASCAR hologram code at NASCAR.com/hologram for a chance to score free gear and great offers, or a VIP experience that puts you right next to the action.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Back at Daytona, final practice is cut short. A big wreck 53 minutes in, and then rain drops down at one end of the racetrack, so practice is over.
Sound like we're in NASA control.
Everybody's talking. We're getting ready to have a countdown, aren't we?
Sounds
Yes,
like we are. You know, Jeff, the final practice, and I'm not happy. I don't like my car. It's not handling well, sliding around a lot. What are we going to do? We got a little time to work on it.
Just you worry about getting it qualified. When you come back here and we get back in that car tomorrow afternoon to make that qualifying run, we'll have it the way it needs to be. So when they impound it, we'll make a couple of adjustments the first part of the race. Everything will be fine.
One thing I am seeing is some Fords showing up on our speed chart here. Biffle's up there in second, and there's Kane, Allmendinger, and Reagan.
Menard. Yep.
Menard. Looks like they've got some steam on the hood.
Jeff, we're getting ready to go to the special edition of NASCAR Race Hub and Hall of Fame special edition, and we'll find out the 25 nominees. And I know you wanted to say something. We started talking about the Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Well, I mean, I feel pretty confident, that we're going to have some of the same guys that'll be, in the first class will definitely be there in the second class, like our buddy here, Darrell Waltrip, Lee Petty, probably Fireball Roberts, Cale Yarborough, Bobby Allison. Those guys, you feel very confident. They will be back in the running. But I'm starting to wonder who's going to be the next group coming in. Will it be, crew chiefs? Will it be, other drivers? Will it wind up being maybe some of the people who made our sport great, like a Paul Sawyer or a Ralph Seagraves that meant so much, to bringing Winston to our our series. So, I'm curious to see what not only the fans have helped to lead the panel to, but what the panel believes in.
I want to share this. I had a great experience this week. I got to go to Cooperstown, New York.
Wow.
I have never been to the Baseball Hall of Fame until this week. And I have to say, coming away from that, I'm so proud of our NASCAR Hall of Fame because it compares very favorably. And I think I think there's a good mix of the early part of the sport to the current day. And also to your point, Darrell, it's not a Sprint Cup Hall of Fame. It's a NASCAR Hall of Fame.
And remember, every year from now on, 5 people are going to get inducted into this Hall of Fame. So, like I've said all along, if you don't get in now, you're going to get in later. You'd certainly like to be sooner than later. But nonetheless, eventually this hall will be something that our young fans will walk through, and they will see the bust, and they will see the memorabilia from their favorite driver or drivers they never knew anything about. That's what makes this hall so great. It preserves our history.
And so far, I've had a lot of folks send me emails that have called me that have come from around the United States to Charlotte this summer so far since the opening of the hall. And not a one of them has not said it is the greatest thing and the greatest amount of, I mean, it was worth every bit of money that it took to get here, where they traveled from, to the amount of money they spent to go through the hall as we see all the great cars. This makes you start thinking about, wow, this thing's been around for a long time. Look at all these great people, and you start remembering where our history comes from and the people that made us great.
Well, I took my son and my nephew 2 weeks ago to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. They're 8 years old and 12, respectively, and I didn't say a word about it. They said, Uncle Steve, it's awesome. So there you have it. About time to find out who will be in that second class of the 25 nominees for the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Congratulations, Darrell. I know you're going to be there.
Oh, thank you.
Tonight on a very special edition of The Hub. 2010 has been a historic year in our sport as 5 legendary pioneers were honored as the first members of the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Now, as we look toward 2011, 25 more finalists are about to be revealed. Mike Joy will join us from the Hall of Fame, and Kyle Petty is standing by in Daytona with NASCAR's Robin Pemberton, who will make the big announcements. Thousands of names helped build this sport, but only 5 will be etched into this next chapter of history. The road to the class of 2011 starts now. Hello, everyone. We are on at a special time this evening due to a special announcement. Tonight, exclusively, the 25 nominees for the 2011 Hall of Fame class will be revealed. Thanks for joining us here on NASCAR Race Hub. I'm Krista Voda. On May 23rd, 2010, the first members of the NASCAR Hall of Fame were inducted. And tonight, it's time to set the new class of nominees for 2011. First, let's take a look at some of the rules. To be nominated into any class for the Hall of Fame, there are a few rules for eligibility. First, former drivers must have competed at least 10 years in NASCAR and be retired from racing for a minimum of at least 3 years. Non-drivers must have worked at least 10 years in the industry. The election committee for nominations contains 21 people, 8 NASCAR representatives, 2 representatives from the NASCAR Hall of Fame, 7 Sprint Cup Series track owners, and 4 historic short track owners. Remember, this is the committee for nominations, not inductions. While I'm here in the Hub in Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm not alone on the show. Kyle Petty and Robin Pemberton will join us from Daytona in a bit. And Mike Joy is just down the road from our Hub studio at the Hall of Fame in downtown Charlotte. Mike, thanks for joining us tonight. Simply put, how big is this announcement? Can you put it in perspective for us?
Well, it turns the page, Krista, and opens the next chapter. I'm joined by a group of Hall of Fame members and special guests in the Hall of Honor. Richard Petty's iconic Dodge behind me. And next May, as you mentioned, these 5 exhibits will leave and be replaced by 5 representing the class of 2011. A couple of big questions to be answered tonight. First, how many of last year's nominees that were not inducted are on this year's list? It could be all of them, 20. It could be some fraction of that. And who are the new nominees and why? And if they displace anyone, a comparison might be in order. So there will be at least 5 new names. We do know that. And we're prepared for the announcement. All those questions will be answered here in the next hour.
Well, speaking of questions, one I've gotten is, we've already explained who makes up the nominating committee. Is this a completely different group than the election panel?
It is not. I misspoke on the Hub the other night. All of the nominating committee are also members of the voting panel that will convene here in October. They'll be joined by 7 broadcasters, 7 writers, 4 manufacturers' representatives, retired drivers, crew chiefs, car owners, and people of significant position in the industry. That's a total of 52. There is a 53rd vote, and unique to all major sports Hall of Fames, that is the combined vote of all the fans who cast ballots for next year's class.
NASCAR truly interactive. Thanks, Mike. It's going to be an exciting night. Also on the program tonight, Speed and TNT commentator Kyle Petty and NASCAR's Vice President of Competition, Robin Pemberton. Robin will be the one who will announce the nominees. Well, the wait is almost over. Coming up next, we will go live to Daytona, Florida, where Kyle and Robin are standing by, ready to reveal this year's 25 nominees for the NASCAR Hall of Fame's class of 2011. The big announcement starts next.
We're in the mood for baby back ribs for dinner tonight. Who's got them? And it has to be all you can eat.
Thanks for dropping by.
Golden Corral is the first ever to offer all the fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs you want, all on our endless dinner buffet for around $10. Only at Golden Corral.
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Can football announcer Andres Cantor make any sport exciting?
Ha sido una partida intensa hoy. Jadrowski está pensando. Veamos qué va a hacer. Moverá la reina, moverá el caballo. ¡Qué tensión! ¡Viene! ¡Gol!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
No, not now.
Nothing's worse than a dead battery. And nothing's more reliable than a Duralast battery. Duralast, proven tough, only at AutoZone.
New Year's Eve 2009, Long Beach, California. Travis Pastrana, the longest rally car jump in history.
Welcome to my world, the world of Red Bull.
Leaving it all on the field is not the same as leaving it all on the wall.
The first Hall of Fame class included a Petty, an Earnhardt, a Johnson, and 2 men named France. Tonight, exclusively here on NASCAR Race Hub, we are learning the names of the 25 men from whom the next class will be selected. Joining us now from Daytona, Kyle Petty and Robin Pemberton. Kyle, let's start with you, and for good reason. It was just announced that you have been added to the voting panel for the selection, which will take place this fall.
Yeah, and that was big for me. I'll be honest with you. It was so cool last year being there with Darrell Waltrip and some of those guys whenever the guys came in, whenever all the voting panel came in and they went into the room and they were sequestered in the room and they came out with those 5 and then they made the announcement. And that was a big deal. So to be a part of that after all these years, and obviously my father's a part of it this year since he's been inducted into the Hall of Fame, so to be there with him is going to be pretty cool.
A family affair. Well, let's turn to Robin. Robin, are you surprised at how quickly and how important an impact the Hall of Fame has made on the sport of NASCAR?
No, it's incredible, and the hall is beautiful, and I think all the attention that it's getting for our new nominees and the guys that were in there, the first 5, it was an incredible experience, and I tell you, we can only build on it from here.
All right, Robin, let's begin. Time to reveal the first 2 members nominated for the 2011 Hall of Fame.
Chris, our first 2 nominations are Bobby Allison and Buck Baker.
All right, well, that makes complete sense to me. Let's go ahead and give you a little bit of information on Bobby Allison. He was one of the original nominees for the Hall of Fame, and with good reason. 1983 champion, 84 wins, tied for 3rd on the all-time victory list with Darrell Waltrip. A member of the Alabama gang, Allison won the Daytona 500 3 times, 1978, 82, and 88. 1988 was special because he beat his son Davey. It would turn out to be Bobby's final victory. And Buck Baker was the first driver to win back-to-back championships. He bookended those titles with runner-up finishes in 55 and 58, so he almost pulled off the Jimmy Johnson, just missing 4 in a row. Buck Baker drove a bus before becoming an auto racer. He also founded a series of high-performance driving schools. Let's bring in Mike Joy. Mike, I'm guessing neither of these men are a surprise, both well-deserving.
No, and they'll both be in the Hall of Fame. It's not a question of if, just when. Bobby Allison continues to make appearances on behalf of companies and speedways, is still an active participant in this sport with his wife, Judy. And Buck Baker, if there was ever a harder-nosed competitor than Buck Baker, I don't think I ever met him. And his record, certainly with 46 wins, speaks for itself. They're both future Hall of Famers. It's not if, it's when.
Okay, back to you, Robin, for the next two members.
Okay, the next two are Red Byron and Richard Childress.
All right, well, Red Byron was the first race winner and the first champion, winning the title while driving for Raymond Parks in 1949. Wounded in World War II, Byron drove with a special brace attached to the clutch pedal, making his achievements all the more impressive. There you see Red Byron. And of course, Richard Childress was on the original list of 25. The question, how can an active member in NASCAR be dominated? Well, remember, since Richard is a non-driver and has worked over 10 years in the sport, he is eligible. But Childress got his start as a driver, finishing 5th in the standings in 1975. His thickest historical chapter is tied in with Dale Earnhardt. 6 of Dale's 7 titles were won while driving for Childress. Kyle, from one of the pioneers to an owner still involved today, your thoughts on these two?
Yeah, I think you look at Red Byron, and he is your original champion. And how cool is that? When you look at the sport and where the sport's at today, where you look at what Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt, what Jimmy Johnson has done, nobody's done anything until Red Byron wins that first championship. So that's huge as a cornerstone of the sport. You look at Childress, who came into the sport, came in as an owner driver, and transitioned into an owner and is still a force in the sport today. Still winning big races, still winning championships, still there. So I think when you look at those two, they encompass what the sport is. A guy who was an owner, a guy who was a driver who transitions after his driving career is over with and still contributes to the sport.
Well, Kyle, you bring up an interesting point. How hard is it to wear those separate hats and to be involved in, I guess, all aspects of the sport?
You know, I think drivers, it's hard to be a driver and then transition to an owner. How many great drivers become great owners? Very few. But a lot of drivers become owners. When you look at Childress, he's one of those drivers that was a journeyman driver who has transitioned along with Dale Earnhardt, now Kevin Harvick, and you look at Clint Boyer and Jeff Burton and those guys. He has built a dynasty and built something there. When you go to the welcome shop and you see what he's done, it's truly phenomenal. But that is a hard transition because it's a different mindset to be an owner than it is a driver. You still want to win championships, you still want to win races, but you go about it a little bit different way. You put the car in somebody else's hands, and it's not your responsibility anymore.
And handing over that control, not always easy. Okay, thanks a lot, Kyle. Robin, we'll get back to you guys in just a minute, as well as go back to the Hall of Fame with Mike Joy. We're just getting started, though. Visitors to the Hall of Fame reflect on those voted in by visiting the Hall of Honor. 5 others will have their names displayed here next year. To have a chance, you have to make today's list. We'll continue to reveal the contenders when we come back. You're watching a special edition of NASCAR Race Hub live on Speed.
Friday, the beaches of Daytona will shake once again when NASCAR returns to the high banks to celebrate America's independence. And we're there as the Sprint Cup superstars drop the hammer and set the field with live qualifying. Then 2 of NASCAR's biggest names, Kevin Harvick and Casey Kane, bring the party to NASCAR trackside. Live coverage begins Friday at 4 Eastern with NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying, and don't miss NASCAR trackside at 11 Eastern. Only on Speed.
Do you want some Fiber One honey clusters?
Yeah. You must really care about him.
What?
You gave him fiber. This tastes way too good to be fiber. They're delicious crunchy clusters with sweet honey and half a day's worth of fiber. You care about my fiber?
Not really.
Fiber One.
Mike's is a refreshing change of pace to beer, but you should enjoy it responsibly.
For example, do you have a designated driver? I could take you home.
Or I could.
Or I could take you both home. Lots of options.
Don't forget the Mikes. Lemonade for grown-ups.
The challenge makes you stronger.
Every day, every moment.
You want my belt? Come and get it.
So, you want to be a fighter? This is how.
Rated T for teen.
To me, power is more than just an amazing serve.
It's confidence, attitude, expression, glamour. Be bold enough to show the world who you are on and off the court.
Serena Williams and HSN, a perfect match.
Let's make our statement in style.
Discover the exclusive Serena Williams Signature Statement Collection, only on HSN.
Welcome back to the Hub. We know the first 4 men who could be part of the 2011 Hall of Fame class: Bobby Allison, Buck Baker, Red Byron, and Richard Childress. Any one of them or all of them could receive the honor. Or will it be one of the remaining 21 names that we are about to release? Welcome back to our special Hall of Fame episode of NASCAR Race Hub. 4 have been named, 21 to go. The 25 nominees for the Hall of Fame's class of 2011. Let's go back to Daytona and join up with NASCAR's Vice President of Competition, Robin Pemberton. Robin, we're ready for the next 2 names.
Okay, Krista, the next 2 we have Richie Evans and Tim Flock.
All right, another couple of drivers. Let's start with Richie Evans, one of the names released to the media this week, so we knew he'd be on the list. And because it's not just Cup drivers, but all NASCAR series which are honored in the Hall of Fame, the king of the modifieds makes the cut. Evans won 9 modified titles, including 8 in a row from 1978 to 1985. It's often said NASCAR is a family sport. Well, Tim Flock was the leader of the Flock family of drivers. In 1949, 4 Flocks were in the field: brothers Bob, Fonte, and Tim, and sister Ethel. A 2-time series champion, Flock won 18 races in 1955, a single-season record that stood until Richard Petty broke it 12 years later. Okay, we're going back to the Hall of Fame where Mike Joy is standing by. And Mike, your thoughts on Richie Evans? Some of our viewers may be unfamiliar with his name.
In the Northeast, Richie Evans was not just king of the modifieds, but along with his good friend, often drinking buddy who raced mostly outside of NASCAR, Dick Trickle, Richie Evans was simply the greatest short track driver ever. Of his 9 championships, 8 of them were consecutive. Every year he raced for the championship, he won it. His bright orange BR DeWitt number 61 was a feared sight at every pit area where he and Billy Nasowitz rolled in to race. Evans was simply in a league of his own, shown there at Martinsville. And that was the big finish with Jeff Bodine, where they both refused to lose and crashed off turn 4 on the final lap. That's Evans up on top of the wall, coming to the finish line first. Tim Flock, on the other hand, in the Cup Series with 39 wins and 2 championships, Flock was the first driver to really embrace the media. He had a gimmick. He had a chimpanzee, Jocko Flacco, that rode with him in the car for a few races. His whole family drove and raced, as you pointed out. He raced in sports cars, in stock cars. He was certainly one of the sport's first true superstars.
I love it. If Tim had a chimpanzee in the car, I say I'm going to start bringing a chimpanzee on pit road. Thanks a lot, Mike. We'll get back to you in just a minute. Let's go back to Daytona, though. We're bouncing around, and Robin, we're ready for 2 more names.
Okay, Krista, we have Rick Hendrick and Ned Jarrett up next.
All right, similar to Richard Childress, Hendrick, of course, eligible as a non-driver with over a decade in the sport. Owner of 9 NASCAR Cup titles, 4 each with Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, and 1 with Terry Labonte. Hendrick is tied with Petty Enterprises for most championships all time. Hendrick owned a championship drag racing boat team before founding All-Star Racing, which would evolve into Hendrick Motorsports. Ned Jarrett is another 2-time Cup champion. His 50 career wins ties him with Junior Johnson at 10th all-time. One of Jarrett's feats, winning the Southern 500 by 14 laps. That's over 17 miles. It's still the largest margin of victory in NASCAR Sprint Cup history. Nicknamed Gentleman Ned, Jarrett also served as a broadcaster and called his son Dale's 1993 Daytona 500 victory. Kyle, I would imagine no surprise with these 2 gentlemen, Rick Hendrick and Ned Jarrett as well.
No surprise at all. And I think you look at Ned and you look at his body of work. I think you look 50 wins is phenomenal when you start looking at that and you compare that to the drivers of today who are out here that are superstars today. Ned was a superstar in his time. He retired very early for multiple reasons, but then he went on to do media, to do the TV, to have his own radio show. And he was an ambassador for the sport and still is an ambassador for the sport. And obviously his family with Dale and with Glenn that came along and raced just after him. They've been a fixture, and the Jarrett family has been a fixture in the sport, just as Rick Hendricks has.
Oh yeah, and Rick, what an owner. I mean, he's put together numerous teams. He's kept his teams together and strong, and they've been real consistent. And you don't get a lot of turnover when you're at Hendrick Motorsports, and I think that's been the strength of all of those teams over the years.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys. Stick around. We'll come back to you in just a minute. 8 down, 17 to go. Remember, you can't win an Academy Award unless you are first nominated. We will continue to announce the names eligible for NASCAR's version of the Oscars, exclusively here on NASCAR Race Hub.
Saturday, the Rolex Sports Car Series returns to Daytona, and the battles on the track are more explosive than a 4th of July firecracker. Celebrate the holiday weekend from Daytona, Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
A lot has changed over the years in how you make a vehicle go fast. But one thing hasn't changed: Sunoco's proven performance. Today, we continue to focus on quality and performance and are proud to fuel champions in just about anything that races. Fueling victories every week, every race, every win. The Sunoco Free Fuel 5000 is back. Get your decal at Sunoco for a chance to win 5,000 gallons of gas.
I will not turn my backyard into a national park.
I will just make my lawn greener.
I will go to Ace.
And then I will grill.
Get in, get help, get on with your life. Get a full price mail-in rebate on 9 select products, $1 to $4 each at Ace.
At TireRack.com, we stock an amazing amount of tires, nearly 1 million tires. But we don't just stock them, we test them. And we post user reviews so you can find which tires are the best for you and your car. All this at a price that won't slow you down. And that's 1 in a million, or in most cases, 4 in a million. The biggest selection of tires. One more way Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
See, they learn. They adapt. How do we kill them? However you can.
Predators. Rated R.
Let's get you back up to speed on the first 8 who have been nominated. Drivers Bobby Allison, Buck Baker, Red Byron, Richie Evans, Tim Flock, and Ned Jarrett. And current owners Richard Childress and Rick Hendrick. Welcome back to this special edition of NASCAR Race Hub. For this show, 8 is not enough. Tonight we are revealing the 25 nominees eligible to be voted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame's class of 2011. Let's head back down to Daytona and check in with Robin Pemberton. Robin, we are anxiously awaiting 2 more names.
Well, Krista, we've got Bud Moore and Raymond Parks.
All right, a couple of owners in the sport. One of the infamous owners in 37 seasons. Moore's cars won 63 times. Some of the biggest names in NASCAR drove for Moore, including Dale Earnhardt, David Pearson, Buddy Baker, Bobby Allison, and Ricky Rudd, to name a few. Moore also won the 1970 Sports Car Club of America Championship with Parnelli Jones. And it's bittersweet to see another legendary owner, Raymond Parks, back on the nomination list. Parks attended some of this year's Hall of Fame events, but passed away less than 2 weeks ago. Parks owned the car which won the very first championship with driver Red Byron, who is also a nominee. So, Mike, I'd love to get your thoughts. I mean, 2 legendary owners in the sport, and as I said, bittersweet, but it's wonderful to see Raymond Parks back on the list.
Well, certainly it is, as one of his cars is on display here on Glory Road. Let's start with Bud Moore, however. Walter had just had a wonderful career in NASCAR as a car owner, and you mentioned the 2 years that Ford sent him to race in the Trans Am, which he did very, very successfully. That's Bud on the left in the hat, which was the fashion, I guess, of the day, one of those Kangol caps. But he won a lot of races as a crew chief. There he is with Joe Weatherly, and his career carries right through the Winston Cup and modern era. And Lanky Fouché, his longtime crew chief back in the 70s. His son Greg did cylinder head work. Bud, at the card table, and especially shooting craps in Las Vegas, Bud left his mark. A wonderful man. He's no longer active in the sport, but certainly is still a fan of it. He and Barney Hall were quite running mates, so good to see Bud on the list. Raymond Parks is an interesting story because his cars only competed in NASCAR for the first 5 years of the sport's existence. But the Parks Novelty Machine Company and his other businesses around Atlanta have a lot to do with the understory of the sport. There is Raymond inspecting his car, #1, on the flat track part of Glory Road because Parks helped keep this sport afloat in the early years, helped out with promotion and with financing. Without Raymond's involvement, would there be a NASCAR today? I'm glad we don't have to answer that question.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Love hearing those old stories. Those are great. Let's go back to Daytona where Robin Pemberton has 2 more names for us. Robin, who have you got?
Krista, we've got Benny Parsons and David Pearson.
2 of the legendary drivers. Some of Benny Parsons' biggest achievements were winning the 1973 championship and the 1975 Daytona 500. Parsons was also the first driver to top 200 miles per hour, doing so during qualifying at Talladega in 1982. Longtime fans know Benny for his work behind the wheel, but newer fans of the sport may know him best for his work behind the mic. He was a commentator until his passing in January of 2007. Known as the Silver Fox, David Pearson won 3 championships, but did you know that he won all 3 without ever running every single race in a given season? With 105 wins and 113 poles, he ranks second all-time in NASCAR history, surpassed only by the king, Richard Petty. So, Kyle, let's hear your thoughts. I mean, I would imagine David Pearson was sort of a no-brainer. We knew he'd be on there, right?
Yeah, for me, yes. You know, I look at David Pearson, and I looked at last year's, and I was surprised that he was not in that initial class, because when you look at David's numbers, he's arguably the greatest stock car driver that ever lived. Richard Petty may argue that. Bobby Allison may argue that. Dale Earnhardt Sr. may. But arguably, he is the greatest stock car driver that ever lived. When you look at the numbers that he put up, the second places, the wins, the things he did for the sport, truly amazing. When you look at Benny, I think Benny's more in the mold of Ned Jarrett. Benny was the modern-day Ned Jarrett. He's the guy that everybody loved, that could take and be that everyman as a race car driver. But at the same time, you put him in the announcer's booth, and he just had that way of him, that folksy way of being able to transfer and translate the sport to the common man and say, this is what it feels like to drive a stock car at 200 miles an hour. This is what it feels like to win. So, you know, I think Benny is well deserving. That championship was a well-fought championship, and that's one of the championships, when you look at the history of the sport, will go down as one of the greatest championships ever.
Yeah, absolutely. A dramatic championship indeed in 1973. Okay, thanks, Kyle. Stick around. We still got more with you and Robin down there in Daytona. And, of course, back to the Hall of Fame with Mike Joy. You're watching the Race Hub here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Every driver and owner dreams of building a legacy that will eventually land them here in the Hall of Fame. Only 5 will be chosen for the next class. Those 5 will come from the 25 names being revealed tonight. 12 have been named, 13 still to come here on Race Hub.
Saturday, NASCAR Race Day hits the high banks, and we're there. As Dale Jr., Ryan Newman, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Daytona 500 winner Jamie McMurray join us live. NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot, live from Daytona, Saturday at 4:30 Eastern. Only on Speed.
Oh, Daddy.
No, Macy, I can't let you drive the old Aaron's Dream machine. It's too dangerous.
Please?
Honey, your feet won't even reach the pedals.
Oh, Daddy, I love you.
Whoa, Focus. You're only 11. You don't have a license.
But I have my own suit.
Boy, you sound an awful lot like ODW.
Your dad let you drive.
Name brand furniture, electronics, appliances, and computers are all here at Aaron's. You don't need credit to buy or lease at Aaron's guaranteed low price. Nobody beats Aaron's.
We're still going for ice cream, right, honey?
I'm back in the saddle again. Out where a friend is a friend.
Well, the longhorn cattle feed on the lonely gypsum weed.
Back in the saddle again. See how affordable an RV vacation can be. Visit GoRVing.com and watch a free video. Go affordably, go RVing.
This is 5-Hour Energy. If 5-Hour Energy were a car, it would be this. Fast, exhilarating, taking you from groggy to, oh yeah, in a hurry. This is coffee. If coffee were a car, it would be this. It'll get you where you want to go, eventually.
Hey, Pop. Hey, Steve, want to trade? Nope. Nice car.
5-Hour Energy. What's driving you?
Welcome back to NASCAR Race Hub's Hall of Fame nomination special. I'm Krista Voda. So far, we have a dozen. 12 names have been announced for the 2011 Hall of Fame ballot. They are Bobby Allison, Buck Baker, Red Byron, Richard Childress, Richie Evans, Tim Flock, Rick Hendrick, Ned Jarrett, Bud Moore, Raymond Parks, Benny Parsons, and David Pearson. Lots of drivers and some owners on that list. Let's bring Robin Pemberton back in from Daytona. Robin, we're just about halfway there. Can you give us two more right now?
Absolutely. We have Lee Petty and Fireball Roberts.
All right, the patriarch of NASCAR's most famous family, Lee Petty, was the first to win 3 NASCAR Cup championships. He also won the first Daytona 500, although officials, due to such a close finish, didn't declare him the winner until 3 days later. Lee Petty started Petty Enterprises and had won more races than any other driver, 54, until he was surpassed by his own son, Richard. Glenn Fireball Roberts was one of the 2 names revealed in a sneak peek yesterday. Roberts has been called the greatest driver never to win a NASCAR title. Despite this, he's also been called stock car racing's first superstar due to his popularity. By the way, his nickname comes from his early days as a high school pitcher. Well, Kyle, I know you are thrilled to see your grandfather on the list.
Definitely so. You know, I may argue with something Mike Joy said later or earlier that Buck Baker was one of the toughest competitors. Obviously, Mike Joy never worked for Lee Petty. Robin Pemberton and I did work for Lee Petty. He's one of the toughest bosses, I can tell you that. When you look at the 3 championships, when you look at the first guy to win 54 races, when you look at my father breaking those records, when you look at some of the stuff my grandfather did basically between 1948 and really 1960 or 61 when he wrecked right over our shoulder here and ended up right here at Daytona after winning that first race. It's a phenomenal 10 or 12 year stretch in the sport when you look at those numbers. So to have him be nominated once again for the Hall of Fame and have my father already in the Hall of Fame obviously is big for our family. When you look at Fireball, there's been songs written about Fireball. There's been everything said about Fireball. You look at the horrific accident that he was killed in that Ned tried to help save him in. So much of the history of the sport revolves around that name and that legend. And as you said, probably the greatest driver ever to drive a race car that didn't win a championship. I hear his name mentioned a lot of times when people talk about Mark Martin and all Mark Martin has done. That's the kind of guy that Fireball was. Just a competitor, a good guy, but a guy that came for one reason, and that was to win races.
All right, well, I know all those early guys were tough, whether you worked for them or not, I'm sure. Let's go ahead and stay in Daytona. And Robin, do you have 2 more names?
Yes, I do, Krista. We've got Herb Thomas and Curtis Turner.
All right, while Lee Petty was the first to win 3 titles, Herb Thomas was the first to win 2, winning the 1951 and 1953 championships. Petty's first title came a year later. And similar to Buck Baker, Thomas also finished runner-up in 2 surrounding seasons, meaning he just missed setting the bar for Jimmy Johnson with 4 straight as well. Curtis Turner has been called the Babe Ruth of stock car racing as he had one of the sport's biggest personalities. Turner drove for many legendary owners, including the Wood brothers, Junior Johnson, and Smokey Yunick. With 17 career wins and 184 starts, Curtis Turner remains the only driver to win 2 consecutive races from the pole, leading every lap. He was also named one of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers. Who will join Curtis and the gang? More nominees next on The Hub.
Friday, NASCAR returns to Daytona, and we're there for live Sprint Cup qualifying. Then Kevin Harvick and Casey Kane bring the party to NASCAR trackside. Live coverage begins Friday at 4 Eastern with NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying. Only on Speed.
Okay, you know you're gonna need new tires. It's inevitable, right? So why not get them from TireRack.com? With Tire Rack's online research tools, you'll know you're getting exactly the right tires for you, your car, and the way you drive it, all at a great price. Don't just change your tires, change the way you buy tires. The biggest selection of tires. One more way Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
On January 12th, a massive earthquake ravaged Haiti's capital, but there's still so much to do. Please join the Clinton Bush Haiti Fund and other organizations as we answer the call to help Haiti build back better. Thank you.
Yeah, I should know. Why should I go when everybody's trying? Tomorrow I don't know. Don't tell me you're sure about it. We
any longer. The phone call is free. The information is free. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 1-800-375-5064. That's 1-800-375-5064.
Welcome back to this special edition of NASCAR Race Hub. Speed is the exclusive home for all things Hall of Fame and your first source to find out who the nominees are for the class of 2011. Right now, you're looking at true legends in racing, the first 16 eligible for induction in the next prestigious class for the sport's highest honor. Drivers, owners, innovators, all help build the sport we love today. Still to come here tonight, we have the remaining 9 candidates. Will your favorite make the list? Let's get to it. We're glad you could join us for this special edition of NASCAR Race Hub as we exclusively bring you the list of 25 nominees. We have Mike Joy at the Hall of Fame. More from him in just a bit. But first, we head back to Daytona. Kyle Petty has been sharing his thoughts with us as well as Robin Pemberton reveals the names. Robin, 2 more, please.
Krista, up next, we've got Darrell Waltrip and Joe Weatherly.
Okay, no surprise to see Darrell Waltrip's name on this list. DW ranks 3rd on NASCAR's win list, tied with Bobby Allison at 84. His 3 championships came in 81, 82, and 85. Another highlight, of course, the 1989 Daytona 500. Nicknamed Jaws during his driving career due to his sometimes outspoken demeanor, Waltrip can now be seen on Fox and right here on Speed. Joe Weatherly was a master of versatility. His first championship was won while driving for Bud Moore. In his second championship season, a year later, he drove for 9 different teams. Another big personality, Weatherly was nicknamed the Clown Prince of stock car racing. Well, at the Hall of Fame, Mike Joy standing by. And Mike, you know DW better than just about anyone. No question he belongs on this list. Would you first like to comment on what Kyle said earlier?
Well, I did get to know his granddad long after Lee had hung up his helmet, and I can tell you that during photo shoots he didn't much like taking direction, but he was sure had no reluctance to hand it out. So I understand what Kyle's saying. And as for Darrell, you know what a force.
What about Darrell?
What a force Darrell Waltrip has been in this business for long these many years. You know, Darrell did a couple of things once he got into a good car. He'd roll into town, he'd be fast, he would tell the media and all the fans that he was going to beat their favorite drivers, and then on Sunday he'd do it. And this endeared him to some people, and it just fanned the flames for others. But there's no denying his prowess behind the wheel with 3 championships and 84 victories. You know, Darrell's a lock for this Hall of Fame.
All right, thank you, Mike. And let's head back down to Daytona. Robin, 2 more, please.
We've got Glenn Wood and Cale Yarborough.
Okay, owner, driver, Glenn Wood won 4 times. He is best known, though, for collaborating with his brothers and forming Wood Brothers Racing. The Stewart, Virginia-based team, which dates back to 1950 and is still active today, has collected 97 wins with drivers like David Pearson, Cale Yarborough, and Bill Elliott. And since we're speaking of Cale Yarborough, it took 2 decades for someone else to achieve what Yarborough pulled off from 76 to 78, 3 straight championships. Cale's 83 wins ranks 5th all-time. His 69 poles put him 3rd on that list. He also won the Daytona 500 4 times. Only Richard Petty has won the Great American Race more times at 7. And back in Daytona, Kyle Petty, your thoughts on Glenn Wood? I mean, a driver first, became a legendary owner, and of course, Cale Yarborough, 3 straight.
Yeah, well, I think when you look at Glenn Wood, you have to be all-encompassing. You look at him as a driver, you look at him as an owner, and you look at him as a father and a patriarch of the Wood brothers and that family. Lynn and Eddie, his brother Leonard, all those guys. Phenomenal team. I was very blessed and fortunate to drive for him, and I look back on that with fond memories. But you look back, Curtis Turner, Neil Bonnet, Dale Jarrett, Cale Yarborough, David Pearson. You look, all the great drivers drove for those guys and ran a limited schedule and still dominated the sport for some of those seasons when you look back at the 500s and the big races. You look at Cale. People always used to say Cale drove for one reason, to get a buck. And if you would tape $1 to the hood of his car so he could see it, he would sit in a seat and run harder trying to catch that $1 than he would trying to pass the car in front of him. So Cale's a hard charger and one of the hardest chargers that we've ever had. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
That's funny. They tape licorice and jelly beans to the camera for me, but $1 works too, whatever it takes. Thanks. We're going to come back to you guys in just a bit. The first 20 are in, and if you haven't noticed, all the members we have announced so far were in the original class from last year, which means we have 5 brand new members, the new 5 for 2011 next.
Give yourself a summer break with Long John Silver's new Ice Flow Frozen Lemonade with a refreshing flavor that's made to chill. And classic lemon and strawberry lemonade. New Ice Flow Frozen Lemonades. Sip the taste of summer only at Long John Silver's.
No, not now.
Nothing's worse than a dead battery. And nothing's more reliable than a Duralast battery. Duralast, proven tough, only at AutoZone.
Introducing new Pennzoil Ultra, a revolutionary synthetic oil that takes clean where it's never been before. Nothing keeps your engine closer to factory clean.
TireRack.com is more than just an online tire resource. We're your one-stop online tire know-how, know-who, and know-what. With TireRack's online research tools, you'll know you're getting exactly the right tires for you, your car, and the way you drive it. Speaking of that, know what else? Our prices are practically unbeatable. And that's all you need to know. Buy your next tires at Tire Rack and experience how we're revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Keep feeling fascination, passion burning, love is so strong.
I just told him, do your best. Build a car you're proud of. Of course, winning's not bad either.
The Subaru Forester, the most award-winning small SUV. Isn't it nice when honest virtues win?
We are announcing NASCAR's Hall of Fame nominees. Here are the 20 of 25, which have been revealed so far. They include drivers Allison, Baker, Byron, Evans, Flock, Jarrett, owners Childress, Hendrick, Moore, and Parks. Also, 17 championships on this list alone. David Pearson, Lee Petty, Darrell Waltrip, Cale Yarbrough each had 3 titles. Thomas and Weatherly each had 2, while Benny Parsons had 1. Driver-owner Glenn Wood also on the nomination list. Welcome back to our special Hall of Fame episode of NASCAR Race Hub. 20 of the 25 are set, and because the first 20 we have announced were in the original class for 2010, that leaves us 5 brand new nominees for the class of 2011. Let's head back down to Robin Pemberton, who's in Daytona, where he will give us 2 more new names.
Krista, my good friend Jerry Cook, and Fred Lorenzen next to.
All right, I thought you were calling me your good friend, but I'll take it. These 2 names were released to the media earlier this week, so no surprise here, but both are new to the Hall of Fame ballot this year. Jerry Cook, like Richie Evans, made his name racing modifieds. Like Evans, he is also from Rome, New York. Cook won 6 NASCAR modified championships, including 4 in a row. Fred Lorenzen was another of NASCAR's early superstars. His numbers are really impressive when you consider he wasn't always a full-time driver. In 1964, he was only in 16 races, yet he won half. Another reason for his popularity, lots of nicknames: Golden Boy, Fearless Freddie, and the Elmhurst Express. Lorenzen hails from Elmhurst, Illinois. Mike Joy is at the Hall of Fame. Mike, 2 new nominees, and where do they rank? Do they belong on this list?
Well, Fred Lorenzen is in, and some drivers that had more victories were, we've not heard their names yet. But Lorenzen was a darling of the media and of promoters. He had a huge fan following, was photogenic, was great with the media, and he helped sell a lot of tickets. He was flamboyant. He was, let's say, the Tim Richmond of his day. And Lorenzen was a tremendous talent behind the wheel as well. Jerry Cook Jerry Cook was probably David Pearson to Richie Evans' Richard Petty. The battles between the two, there's Cook with Ray Hendrick at Martinsville. The battles between the two were legendary. They'd both leave from Rome, New York. They'd often go in different directions to chase points. That's Jerry and his wife Sue in Victory Lane. He was a family man. Evans was a partier. They could not have been more dissimilar. And Robin, take off your NASCAR Vice President hat for a second, because I know these were also your formative years, as they were mine, and the Evans-Cook, just the battle and everything that surrounded it. That made modified racing back in the day.
Oh, yeah, it was totally two different personalities. I mean, Richie was aggressive, and Jerry took his time and analyzed the field and run hard. You know, what championships in there that Cook didn't win, Richie did, and what Richie didn't win, Jerry won. And, you know, it was something great to watch. I met Jerry when I was young in the mid-'60s at my dad's restaurant in upstate New York, and we've been friends ever since, and here we are 45 years later, and Jerry and I are working together at NASCAR R&D Center. But he was a great competitor and a lot of fun to watch.
All right, great stories indeed. Robin, those two were sneak peeks earlier in the week, those two names. But the next name you have for us will be completely new, so who is it?
The next one we have is Jack Ingram.
Jack Ingram did so much in what was then Grand National Series. The nationwide champion 5 times, won 3, and then came back and won 2 more championships. And I know he was at the grand opening of the Hall of Fame. So great to see him. Mike, I spoke with Jack there at the Hall of Fame opening in May, and he said he's still racing today. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he competes in the Asheville area, runs an occasional late model race, and the Ironman is still tough to beat. He can show those kids a thing or two. And like Cook and Evans, the battles that Jack Ingram and Sam Ard had in what was the Late Model Sportsman Series, those are legendary, carried on into what became Busch Grand National. But his body of work and his 5 championships in that day, when you had to haul your car all over and up and down the East Coast to gain points and win those championships, that was tough to do, and Ingram made it work. He was truly the star of that division.
Yeah, such a character. Bobby Labonte at the Hall of Fame opening said that was the reason he came, was to see Jack Ingram. So far, you've seen the names of some of NASCAR's best drivers, owners, and innovators. 2 names are left, and you might be surprised who they are. Stick around. The final 2 nominees are coming up here on Speed, our special edition of NASCAR Race Hub. You will see those final 2 next.
Saturday, the Rolex Sports Car Series returns to Daytona, and the battles on the track are more explosive than a 4th of July firecracker. Celebrate the holiday weekend from Daytona, Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
We're in the mood for baby back ribs for dinner tonight. Who's got them? And it has to be all you can eat.
Thanks for dropping by.
Golden Corral is the first ever to offer all the fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs you want, all on our endless dinner buffet for around $10. Only at Golden Corral.
So can you boys help me with all my car needs? You boys are just what I've been looking for. You got this, right?
Right now, buy any 3 tires and get the 4th tire free.
Pep Boys does everything for less.
Imagine if you could keep your engine as close as possible to factory clean. Introducing new Pennzoil Ultra, a revolutionary new synthetic oil that takes clean where it's never been before. Nothing feels like a factory clean engine, and nothing keeps you closer to factory clean than new Pennzoil Ultra motor oil. Get Pennzoil Ultra now at participating O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide.
How durable is Quaker State? We just tested Quaker State motor oil that had driven thousands of miles in New York City taxis. And even when it was ready to be replaced, that used Quaker State still passed the wear protection, rust protection, and viscosity retention tests for brand new oil. Extra protection when you need it most. That's Quaker State. Real, durable oil.
Welcome back. For the last 45 minutes, we have been revealing the list of nominees for NASCAR's next Hall of Fame class. Only 2 names remain, and both are new, as all of the men who were on last year's list have already been announced. We go back down to Daytona, where Robin Pemberton will give us the first of the 2.
First one I have, Krista, is Dale Inman.
Dale Inman, behind every great driver is a great crew chief. Dale Inman, amazing what he was able to rack up. There you see 8 Cup titles, won 27 races in 1967. So Kyle, I know Dale Inman, a big part of your family's success in the sport.
Yeah, a huge part of their success. You know, we did a thing on Pride of NASCAR during this past week's race, and Dale said that he and the King grew up and were in the same crib together when they were young, and that's a fact. His mother and my grandmother, Elizabeth, they were best friends. They were cousins, which made Dale and my father cousins. So they had that relationship from the time they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. They're 73 years old. They still have that relationship. One starts a sentence, the other one finishes it. You look at Dale's body of work, and you look at what he was at Petty Enterprises with my grandfather, working there with my grandfather Lee, with my father, with my Uncle Maurice, with Dale, or with Wade, and all the guys, Richie Bars, the people that worked there, and being the leader of Petty Enterprises. You look at the guys that came out of Petty Enterprises. Robin Pemberton sitting here, Steve Mill, Tony Glover, Mike Beam. Those guys, they learned under Dale Inman how to work on race cars and how to be championship crew chiefs. You look at Dale, 8 championships. There's nobody else right now that we're going to put in the Hall of Fame that has 8 championships. Dale Earnhardt Sr. has 7. Richard Petty has 7. Dale Inman has 8 as a crew chief. Phenomenal number. So I think when you look at that and you look at what he's done for the sport, the people that he's taught to be crew chiefs, the way he's changed the sport from pit calls and strategies. They won a lot of races. Richard Petty outrun a lot of people, but they won a lot of races because of calls that Dale Inman made in the pits. So I think when you look at it from that standpoint, then this is a guy that I felt like should have been nominated last year, and to be nominated this year is huge.
Yeah, I know, Kyle. We actually discussed that there at the Hall of Fame dinner, so I know it's very special to you. Let's go back over to the Hall of Fame where Mike Joy is standing by. And Mike, doing the Hall of Fame inductions this year, when you were there, how special was it? I know Dale Inman, very proud, sitting there in the audience for Richard Petty.
It was no different, Krista, than any of those almost 200 victory lanes that they're shared. There was Richard being showered with the champagne and the trophy, and there was Dale Inman standing just to the side looking very, very satisfied. I love the list of people, familiar names to all of us, that Kyle just ran down, because Dale Inman didn't just win races. He taught so many people in this sport how to win, and the sport really is better for his contributions, not just in winning, but look at all the folks that have followed or tried to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. And let's go back to Daytona. Robin, we are down to the final nominee. So I don't want to keep you in suspense any longer. I feel like that guy on The Bachelor saying that's the final rose. This is the final rose of the evening, our final nominee.
Final one, Krista, is T. Wayne Robertson.
T. Wayne Robertson, president of R.J. Reynolds Sports Marketing Enterprises, was largely responsible for promoting what was then Winston Cup Racing. A native of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, T. Wayne Robertson also spearheaded the creation of what is now known as the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race. Mike, I know on the Hub yesterday you mentioned Bruton Smith's name. Here we see someone else who helped build the sport we love from a marketing and promotional effort.
Well, this is a bit of a surprise, Krista, but it's a great one and an emotional one. We lost T. Wayne in a boating accident. He was out promoting the sport. And there have been a lot of folks with R.J. Reynolds over the years. Ed Horrigan, Jerry Long, Ralph Seagraves, their first director of special events involved with NASCAR. Any one of them could have been nominated. But it was T. Wayne that I think more so than anyone else associated with Reynolds and the Winston brand that built relationships. That's T. Wayne on the right with Bruton Smith, and there's Seagraves on the left in black with the hat. T. Wayne started out as a show car driver. That was his first job, was driving Miss Winston around. And he came to run that entire program. Everyone at NASCAR was so proud of his own success, and everyone was proud to support his initiatives, things like the All-Star race. You know, for a while, NASCAR tried to distance itself from its tobacco heritage. It's very nice to see that they've come around to embracing it once again, and that T. Wayne Robertson is honored by being on this list.
Yeah, and I think a lot of gentlemen out there would say driving Miss Winston around, that would be a great job indeed. Let's go back down to Daytona. Kyle, your thoughts on the 25 names? I know some of them were not a surprise at all. Others may have been. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's the cream of the crop. I think you could always add, you can always take apart. You know, last year when we inducted those 5 into the Hall of Fame, there were people on one side of the fence or the other. It stirred debate, and that was the best part about it. And I think when we look at it this year, this group will stir debate too. When we look at Freddie, just as some of the comments that Mike Joy had about Freddie Lorenzen, that other people with more wins have not been nominated yet. When we look at T. Wayne has meant so much to the sport. I don't think you can put into words what he's meant to the sport. So it's not just about the numbers sometimes. It's the broader picture of what you've done for the sport.
Okay, some great names, some great pioneers of the sport indeed. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here from the Hub. We'll talk to Daytona and the Hall of Fame when we come back. You're watching a special edition of NASCAR Race Hub. The 25 names, of which the next 5 will be chosen, have been revealed. Stick around, we're not through yet.
Saturday, NASCAR Race Day hits the high banks, and we're there. As Dale Jr., Ryan Newman, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Daytona 500 winner Jamie McMurray join us live. Plus, we'll break down Junior's recent turnaround as he makes a run toward the chase. And relive Tony Stewart's dramatic victory in Daytona last July. NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot, live from Daytona Saturday at 4:30 Eastern.
Only on speed.
So word's getting out that Geico can help people save in even more ways. On motorcycle insurance, RV, camper, boat insurance. Nice work, everyone.
Well, it's easy for him. He's a cute little lizard. Gecko, actually. With all due respect, if I was tiny and green and had a British accent, I'd have more folks paying attention to me, too. I mean, save money. Pip, pip, cheerio.
British? I thought you were Australian.
Well, it's funny you should ask, because actually, I'm from...
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I look all tough and uncaring, but when I see an RV roll in with a big family, well, it fills my heart. But as affordable as it is, it just makes sense to get everybody out and go on a vacation together. Well, I didn't mean all of us.
It's surprising just how affordable an RV vacation could be. See for yourself at GoRVing.com and get a free video, or visit an RV dealer. Go affordably, go RVing.
This is 5-Hour Energy. If 5-Hour Energy were a car, it would be this. Fast, exhilarating, taking you from groggy to, oh yeah, in a hurry. This is coffee. If coffee were a car, it would be this. It'll get you where you want to go, eventually.
Hey, Pop.
Hey, Steve, want to trade?
Nope. Nice car.
5-Hour Energy. What's driving you?
Welcome back. Red Byron was NASCAR's first champ. Buck Baker was the first to do it back-to-back. Other drivers on the nomination list this year include Bobby Allison, Richie Evans, Tim Flock, and Ned Jarrett. Owners on the list, Richard Childress, Rick Hendrick, Bud Moore, Raymond Parks. On this list, a Silver Fox, a Fireball, Jaws, and a Clown Prince. Several champions